I pledge my eternal gratitude to any law nerd who would edit and combine original Emily's live coverage of this trial with Sidebars coverage at specific moments. That sounds like a doctoral project.
Alrighty, welcome to day 18 of the trial, where we left off on day 17. We had just started with cross-examination of Amber Heard by Camille Vasquez.
Yesterday, we ended with Amber Heard at the beginning of a very powerful cross-examination by Johnny Depp's attorney, Camille Vasquez. I think one of the strongest points was pointing out that Amber Heard got her divorce settlement paid in full 13 months before she was sued by Johnny Depp and 10 months before she wrote the op-ed. I think it leaves room for an argument that she lied when she said I couldn't pay it because I got sued. And I think it proves that she wrote the op-ed after she had secured the bag with the rest of the divorce settlement, because there is an argument that op-ed could violate the NDA and the divorce agreement. And if they thought it violated the NDA and it hadn't been paid yet, they could have withheld payment to litigate that, but they didn't. You guys let me know
before we have the jury.
They have preliminary matters. Did you hear the judge? Of course you do.
The bailiff, all rise, please be seated and come to order. The court, all right, do we have any preliminary matters before we bring in the jury? Of course we do. Sidebar, Miss Bredoff. These are all from the audio clips. The court, okay, the audio clips, Miss Bredoff. And these are the redacted set of the 700 through, I think it's 717, indiscernible. The court, all the redacted ones. Miss Bredoff. And then I would like to revisit that issue, Your Honor. Your Honor may recall, and I have a copy of yesterday's transcript, and I tagged the section that's relevant here. So Your Honor may recall, first of all, I did put Miss Heard on the stand, and we have that. At 134, she gives the foundation, explains how she put the metadata on there. Then Miss Vasquez says, and this is page 134, quote, Your Honor, I would just ask the picture be redacted on hearsay grounds, end quote. And Your Honor then granted that at that point. The court, Why do I feel like Judge A said it was more foundation? Anyway, all right, Miss Bredoff. Then I came back and revisited this. I tried giving the case law that said the metadata is not hearsay, and Your Honor believed at that time there was a foundation issue, right? But the foundation had been laid. We don't have an expert that's going to say how she put the metadata on, and in fact, okay, hang on. So back up one day. So on day 17, they were talking about the same issue, and in fact, Elaine does say that they have an expert who's going to be, she even said, so it's okay because we have an expert coming in later who's going to lay the foundation for this. So that was one day prior. So now she says they don't have an expert. Okay. Right, and that would, I guess, but so now she's trying to say Amber laid the foundation. Wow. So, okay, so on day 17, she's saying that's okay that the foundation hasn't been laid by Amber because we have an expert who's going to come in and lay the foundation. But so now, instead, she's saying the foundation had been laid by Amber and they don't have an expert that's going to come in. But the foundation had been laid. We don't have an expert that's going to say how she put the metadata on, and in fact, we believe that we should be able to get those in on the foundation/hearsay. If they challenge the legitimacy, then in rebuttal, we have an expert to say those are legitimate photos, but I need to get those in through her, and I believe that I've laid the foundation, and the only objection is hearsay, and I think the case law is quite strong. The court, okay. Miss Vasquez. I think this is an expert issue, Your Honor, as you indicated. The court. She's saying it's not hearsay, Miss Vasquez, but there was no foundation laid for how that text got on those photographs. That's not a photograph, it's a photograph of a photograph. Miss Bredoff, she explained, the court, I'm still going to sustain it this time, okay, on foundation grounds and hearsay. All right? Thank you. Great. So it's sustain on both. Miss Myers, we do have another issue, the court, yes. Miss Myers, so after our late day 2 weeks ago when we went over all the depositions, deposition day, we all remember that. The court, deposition day. Miss Myers, the parties agreed on their depositions. They were sent to be spliced, and then after they started coming back, they started unilaterally de-designating additional testimony. We've objected. What we agreed on in court and what was ruled the court ruled on is what the court right. Miss Myers, we must, the court abide by. Miss Myers, we agreed that we would withdraw materials, but that was sort of when we were in court, had the opportunity to see what they were withdrawing. We could, reevaluate our own designations we were withdrawing. So we would unilaterally designate after the depositions come back, depending on how long they are, because they were, the court, okay. Miss Bredoff, so they de-designated back with Flotty, and Your Honor said, think about whether you can cut back after Brandon Patterson and establish the 2 in the house, all the way through every single Friday. When we were out in the hallway, we both agreed that we could de-designate more later. It's just our designations. Yes, Your Honor, when Your Honor cut us back to 61 hours, we were in huge trouble and we needed to cut a lot of testimony, and that's what we did. And from May 1st through May 10th, we were sending them exactly the same way they did. We would send them to Planet Depot saying, please remove these are our designations, not theirs. And they had the right to de-designate more if they wanted to. No, they didn't say a word. From May 1st to May 10th, didn't say a word. And then Friday night, they say, oh, we object to you unilaterally de-designating. We had already gotten new spliced videos now. They've got the same ones we do. They know exactly what we de-designated. I said, how are you prejudiced by this? It's what we designated. We need to cut because we can't get it all in. We had to cut. We had to cut significantly because otherwise we can't get our testimony in within Your Honor's time limitations. I love how she's just trying to blame Judge A. Court, okay? Miss Myers, Your Honor, with respect to Miss Flotty's deposition, that was one of ours that we did early on, and Miss Heard's counsel reached out to us and said, will you agree that we can both de-designate further? In that instance, we said yes, we agree. We both de-designated, we both told each other what was going to be de-designated, and we respliced. What happens with the ones that we handled 2 Fridays ago, we were exchanging emails saying we're going to de-designate this from this deposition, and vice versa. We came in, we worked through those, the court, right? So I'll just go ahead and interject here that in case anyone's not entirely sure what the de-designation is. So with these depositions, there's been a lot of depositions so far in this trial. The way that works is that, both parties are there for the deposition and they're both doing questioning, okay? And what happens is after the fact, when they decide what they're going to use during trial, each side can use whatever they want from that deposition. So they can use from when it's their own party that's doing the questioning, or they can use the opposing counsel doing the questioning. They can use any of that footage. And the point of the designating is it's sort of like saying, here's what I want played, here's what I want played. Each party says what they want played. And the reason for that is because, well, there's no point in playing the same material twice, right? So it's like if, say the plaintiff side, in a civil trial designates they want, X, Y, Z, and then, the defendant side wants X and Y, but not Z. There's no point in playing X and Y twice. And so the way it works is since each party can use any part of the deposition, regardless of who's questioning, what it does is it counts towards that party's time. So, and so whoever kind of like claims it first, like that's who it's going to count against. So, so the designating and the de-designating is important because it's sort of like each side can then rely on what they know is going to be played, so then they don't have to claim it. And the point is because it's sort of like, well, it's as opposed to having a live witness where you're questioning and you're kind of you're responding to what the other side has done, right? And what they're asking. This is sort of a fair way to do it because it's like, well, this way, each side knows ahead of time what's coming in, and then they don't have to choose that same material, if that makes sense. So it's planned out. They make their designations ahead of time. Both sides have to agree on that, and the judge also has to agree on it, and they all approve it, and then it's done in advance, and each side uses whatever chunk of the deposition they want to use or not use. They don't have to use any of it, and then it doesn't count against their time. So hopefully that makes sense. Miss Myers, Your Honor, with respect to Miss Flotty's deposition, that was one of ours that we did early on. And Miss Heard's counsel reached out to us and said, would you agree that we can both de-designate further? In that instance, we both said, yes, we agree. We both de-designated. We both told each other what was being de-designated. Again, that's key, right? That everyone's apprised of what material is either being added in or taken out. We both de-designated. We both told each other what was being de-designated, and we respliced. What happens with the ones that we handled 2 Fridays ago, we were exchanging emails saying we're going to de-designate this from this deposition, and vice versa. We came in, we worked through those. The court, right, Miss Myers, and then those were finalized in our view, unless we had an agreement that we might to spare our time, we could de-designate further after that. Or sorry, de-designate further than that. None of the ones that they are sending fall into that category. This is largely unfair. When we were doing the deposition videos in our cases in chief, we didn't have the opportunity to ask after, hold on, we need to remove parts of it. They're taking advantage, Ms. Bredoff. That's just not true. They did it with Filati in the first week. Your Honor, they're not prejudiced. They're not prejudiced by this. This is our testimony. It's like us deciding not to ask the witness certain things. I mean, and it's precisely not like that, as I was just explaining. There's no way you can say this. I don't understand how she can even say this. And we've been sending to them for 2 full weeks. We were sending to them saying, we're de-designating these. You're welcome to de-designate as well. Let us know if you have any issues with what we are de-designating. Otherwise, we're severely prejudiced, Your Honor. We can't fit them all in. That's the bottom line here. That's what we've done. And we've done it all the way through. I will just add that, each side has to manage their time appropriately. And, whenever counsel doesn't prepare things ahead of time to where there's all these sidebars because there's objections being made, the sidebars count against the side that loses. So, like, for example, when Amber Heard was on the stand on direct, and it took, she couldn't even get a question out because she kept trying to get all this evidence in that was hearsay, right? Or she kept doing leading questions, all that stuff. And when Camille was objecting and they're going to sidebar, and then Elaine kept losing those sidebars, rightfully so, that counts against Amber Heard's counsels. It counts against their time. So, not only was the testimony not as beneficial as it could be due to the questioning and due to maybe a lack of preparation, and Amber kind of was able to just sort of like go into flowery detail that ended up being, objected to on relevance or whatever the case was. Basically what I'm saying is like they really had screwed themselves on time. So I think that's what's happening is now they're like panicking and they're trying to de-designate from these depositions, which is to say they'd already agreed to having this much come in on the deposition, and now they're trying to make cuts because of the time. And then what is, of course, Elaine is blaming Judge A, saying it's due to Your Honor's time restrictions. It's like that's just so I don't even know. It's appalling to me. Otherwise, we're severely prejudiced, Your Honor. We can't fit them all in. That's the bottom line here. That's what we've done, and we've done it all the way through the court. But 2 Fridays ago, you knew we had 61 hours. Ms. Bredoff, correct, Your Honor, which is when 2 Fridays ago, when we started de-designating. When Your Honor said that, we said, oh my God, we can't fit these all in. We started de-designating the court 3 Fridays ago. Ms. Bredoff, we've been de-designating since that time. We've been cutting, and they've been cutting. And every Friday, every single one of these lawyers here and said, we're going to have to cut more, and they said, we will too. And I said, great, just let us know. And that's what we did. We let them know, and we let Planet Depots know. We're beyond severely prejudiced because we're not allowed to cut our own designations. We didn't cut theirs. We didn't touch theirs, the court. So how are you prejudiced by? Ms. Myers, so Your Honor, we are not objecting to what was withdrawn 3 Fridays ago, court. How are you prejudiced if they cut more now? All right, this is going to clarify this. Ms. Myers, the issue is that what we removed or what we agreed to remove or lock in was based off of our understanding of what their designations, Ms. Vasquez, and Your Honor, Mr. Chu, we knew those limits. Ms. Bredoff, we said if there's any specific ones you have, let us know, and they have never done that. We've been doing this for 2 weeks, Your Honor. Ms. Vasquez, Your Honor, if I may, you would really, I think there's a word left out here, I don't know, you would really not want to do this to us? I don't know if you can see my cursor, but it says you would really to do this to us. You would really perhaps not want to do this to us when we are trying to prepare for cross-examination and take away attorney resources. They have decided, after Your Honor has ruled on these depositions, to de-designate further, not in agreement with us. It's not fair. Mr. Rottenborn, they had a 10-day break to prepare for cross-examination. Ms. Bredoff, Your Honor, there's no prejudice to them. Ms. Vasquez, there is. Mr. Chu, yes, there is. Ms. Bredoff, give us one designation that we de-designated that somehow that's their prejudice. This is our testimony, Your Honor. Ms. Myers, after we were in court 3 Fridays ago and we marked up our transcripts, we have not sent any further de-designations. Ms. Vasquez and theirs, Ms. Myers, they received some videos back then, and then they saw the time and they started slicing more. Yep, that's exactly what I figured happened. Ms. Bredoff, exactly. Oh my God. Exactly, we had to because we can't get our case in. Right, because you mismanaged your time. We would be severely prejudiced by that, the court, but you knew from the very beginning. Ms. Bredoff, Your Honor, actually, I don't agree that we knew from the very beginning. I know Your Honor said in the first week, the court, right? Miss Bredoff. We're going to go to 72 hours, then, Your Honor, change that down to 61. This is our case now, and once we've got the times, and in fact, we have suffered a lot. Remember the Brandon Patterson one? Because they wouldn't agree to the authenticity of all those video clips. We had 2 hours and 49 minutes of authenticating each of those, and then they agreed to it just as we were coming in for that. So we've got stuff for 2 hours and 49 minutes. When we got the time estimates, Your Honor, we came back, said we can't do that. We have to cut. We did cuts. And I'm not hearing any prejudice on our cuts, Your Honor. There isn't any prejudice. It's just like us not asking more questions. No, it's not. And we've said specifically, and we've been doing this for 2 weeks, Your Honor, they didn't say a word until Friday night, and we said, you're welcome to de-designate as well. And if you have any issues with any of our designations, but we cannot get our case on if we use the originals, we had to cut. The court, I can't require her to use the originals that you based on just because you're doing this all by depositions. It's just a very strange case, but it's their case, their testimony, so I'll allow the de-designations. Okay, let's move on. Mr. Chu, thank you, Your Honor. The court, thank you. All right, are we ready for the jury? Ms. Bredoff, yes, Your Honor. The court, all right. Whereupon the jury entered the courtroom and the following proceedings took place.
Good morning, Ms. Heard.
Thank you for pointing out. There's LawTube. Just the one.
You told this jury that in 2012, I was in the beginning stages of this, just learning these patterns. I was learning that drinking kind of correlated with the violence, end quote. Is that right?
That is correct.
So it was during these cycles of violence in 2012 that you gave Mr. Depp a knife as a gift.
Ooh, good question.
I gave him a knife, I think for a birthday present early in our relationship. I believe it was around 2012, but I'm not certain.
We've seen a picture of that knife, but I think we should bring out the real thing.
Yes!
Master Deputy Halusa, Master Deputy Sheriff Halusa, may I please have you?
You never know how big a knife is in a picture. You never know how big a knife is until you bring it into court. I've learned this multiple times. Damn, that's a big knife.
That's the knife you gave to the man who was hitting you, right, Miss Heard?
I wasn't worried he was going to stab me with it when I gave it to him. That's for certain.
But you gave it to him while he was abusing you, allegedly.
I gave it to him that year.
Master Deputy Sheriff Lusa, will you please show the knife to the jury?
Yes. Hopefully we can see him holding that knife again. Zoom out, zoom out, zoom out.
Thank you. This is the knife you gave to the man who would get drunk and violent with you, right?
This is the same knife that I gave him as a present in 2012, yes.
He's going to keep reframing every damn thing, and I don't care.
Now, Ms. Heard, I'm going to need to talk to you about what happened in Australia in March of 2015. You watched Mr. Depp smash the phone, right?
Oh, we're going to get into the finger.
I watched it.
And you testified that you were, quote, watching the phone every single time he pulled his hand back, end quote.
That's correct.
And according to you, this is when Mr. Depp lost the tip of his finger, right?
It is my best guess. I didn't notice his finger come off, obviously. I was watching him smash the phone and watching the pieces break while he was doing it.
Well, it's not your best guess, Ms. Heard.
That is my best guess, yes.
Okay, let's go back to my questions. You submitted a declaration under the penalty of perjury in this case. Do you remember that?
That is correct.
Okay, let's look at that declaration.
Let's.
While he was smashing the phone, Johnny severely injured his finger, cutting off the top of it, end quote. Did I read that correctly?
Yes, that's correct.
So that was your testimony then?
So you testified in this courtroom that after Mr. Depp smashed the phone, he held you down on the countertop by the neck. Do you remember that?
I'm not quite sure of the exact sequence of things, but yes, both of those things happened.
Convenient.
We'll get to the sequence.
Sure,
and this is when Mr. Depp supposedly assaulted you with a bottle, right?
On the countertop, he assaulted me.
So Mr. Depp was able to get you on the counter, right?
He held me down by my neck.
And hold you down by your neck.
Did he lift you by your neck?
And he grabbed a bottle, according to you, while holding you down by the neck, correct?
I'm sorry, can you clarify what you're asking me?
She's asking you how the fuck this happened.
Mr. Depp is holding you by the neck against the countertop.
In order.
He grabs a bottle. That's your testimony.
No, those two things didn't happen at the exact same time, no.
Oh.
So he's holding the bottle? Is that your testimony? While holding you down by the neck?
Sorry. What was your question?
Your testimony is, Ms. Heard, that either he has the bottle before or after.
Camille has to make sure she doesn't get angry.
Is that your testimony?
He held me by the neck on the counter.
And then
Where's the bottle that he assaulted
At what
with?
point?
right then,
While holding you down by your neck.
we're going to go step by
When
step.
he was assaulting me with the bottle, it was in
Nope.
his hand.
No.
Was it
That
in
wasn't
his
the question.
hand before or after he holds you down by your neck?
I was being held down while he assaulted me with the bottle.
How did you get there?
When he puts you on the counter, does he have the bottle in his hand? Yes
She
or no?
doesn't know.
As I have always said, I don't remember exactly what happened first, or I don't remember the sequence. I just remember being aware that I was being assaulted by a bottle while I was on the countertop.
So he penetrates you with this bottle. But you don't know how he got the bottle, right?
That is correct.
Camille's
And he
not
did
going to
that
shy
right
away
after he
from it.
lost the tip of his right middle finger.
Again, I don't remember the exact sequence of those events.
We'll get to the sequence. And
You
while
don't
he was on
remember
8
the
to
smashing?
10 MDMA pills, right?
Yes.
Just preposterous.
Let's talk about the sequence.
Yeah, let's.
This is the sequence of events you testified to in this courtroom. That he smashed the phone to smithereens and then assaulted you, lost the tip of his finger, and then assaulted you with a bottle. Yes, that's the sequence of events that you testified to in this courtroom.
To be clear, you're putting it in order when you say words like then. I have never claimed that I can remember the exact sequence of these things. This was a multi-day assault that took place over 3 horrible days.
Ms.
This is
Hurd,
the worst thing ever
Ms.
happened to
Hurd,
me. I
we're
don't
not-
remember
Ms.
the
Hurd,
exact
That's
Objection
not my
non-responsive.
My question isn't about the 3-day assault allegedly that occurred. I'm just talking about the sexual assault that you now allege occurred.
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
Yeah,
Let's
this
talk
is
about the
going to be a
sequence.
long. If Amber doesn't answer, it's going to get worse for her. If she just answers yes or no, it will go faster.
And the reason that we need to go through this, Ms. Hurd, is because we understand that these are very serious allegations that you're making, right?
It was horrible. What happened to me? Yes.
Okay, so let's go through them. Page 4506, line 2 through 3. I sit here now.
Camille has very powerful presence in this
Yes.
court.
You testified on page 4506. This all started when Mr. Depp took 8 or 10 pills of MDMA, right?
That is correct.
Chat,
Then, directing your
8 to
attention
10 pills of MDMA.
page
What do we think?
4518.
I'm going with a negative ghostwriter. We are just minutes
Line
into this
19.
cross, and it is already just going through this Australia incident, pointing out how preposterous it is.
You talk about Mr. Depp smashing a wall-mounted phone, correct?
That is correct.
Which they need to do.
Then on page 4519, at line 3, you testified that while Mr. Depp is smashing the phone, he is screaming, quote, "I fucking hate you," end quote, right?
Yes, he was screaming that among other things.
And further down on page 4519, same page, lines 12 through 19, you talk about how you watched Mr. Depp smash the phone to smithereens, right?
That is correct.
Then, continuing on same page, 4519, line 20, you say something really important. Quote, "At some point, he's on top of me. No phone, but screaming the same thing," end quote, right?
I just remember the sound. Yes.
The sound of the screaming
You
or the sound
remember,
of the phone
when
smashing?
you testified to this jury that he didn't have the phone in his hand anymore.
When he was assaulting me with the bottle,
Right.
he had the bottle in his hand. When he was punching the wall with the phone, he had the phone in his hand. When he was punching the wall next to my head, he had me by the throat. He did a lot of things that night.
So you're acknowledging by this sequence, not my words, your words, Ms. Hurd, that you testified to this jury that Mr. Depp smashed the phone to smithereens before he assaulted you. That's the sequencing in which you testified, correct?
I have never testified to a sequence.
But you did. This is why this matters.
Talking about that sequence.
They're
then on
getting
page
to the
4521,
headline of the digital print
starting
article.
at line 3,
Because the headline is
you
their
testified to
strongest
being
case
bent
for
over
defamation.
backwards on the bar, right?
Okay. Can we approach? We don't like going through this line by line with our client. This is going to be a mess.
Sidebar. Miss Bredehoft. The question Ms. Vasquez is asking is not proper impeachment to use. She needs to ask the question and then go to the page and the line number and read what she testified to the page. Instead, what she's doing is she's characterizing her interpretation of the testimony. She keeps inserting her own language. That's not proper impeachment. She has to ask the question that's asked here and give a different answer and then go back and impeach her. So what she's doing, Ms. Vasquez, I'm not impeaching her, first and foremost, Ms. Bredehoft, but she's Ms. Vasquez. Ms. Bredehoft, I'm not impeaching her. This is the statements of the party opponent. I can use them however I want, and I'm entitled to do that. So we're going through the transcript. These are Ms. Heard's statements under oath, and I'm using them the way I see fit. Ms. Bredehoft, she's testifying to her own characterizations of what Ms. Heard is testifying to. She's used the word, quote, sequence, end quote. I can't tell how many times.
Do you remember that?
I'm not quite sure of the exact sequence of things.
There's no word, quote, sequence, end quote. And here, Your Honor, the court, you can ask the questions and you can use, I understand, you can ask the question, just don't comment on the answer. Ms. Vasquez, okay. Court, I would appreciate that. Ms. Vasquez, okay, thank you, Your Honor. And back to open court.
I don't know what they're approaching about. They're going to have to pick apart this event so that the jury goes, that's preposterous. And the jury's not
Directing
just
your attention,
shocked.
Ms. Heard, to page 4521, starting at line 3. You testified to being bent over backwards
Houston,
on the bar,
I
right?
have a podcast. It's called
That is
The Emily
correct.
Show.
And then feeling
one in
pressure
NBC
on your
News.
pubic bone like Mr. Depp was punching you. Yes?
That's what I thought.
And then further down on page 4521
Not how victims of SA
and on to
testify, Amber.
4522,
It's not how they
you
describe
testified
things.
that you were concerned Mr. Depp was using a broken bottle on you. Yes?
You would know.
That was my fear.
Okay.
That's what I remember.
You would
feeling.
know.
You claim you had serious injuries after this alleged incident, right, Ms.
What you
Heard?
said.
Depends on what you would call serious. For me, having a sore jaw and some bruises at the time of my relationship wasn't that serious.
Okay. Let's testify.
relative.
Let's focus on
The
the
testimony.
testimony that you gave about the injuries.
You said your feet were
Mr. Depp,
sliced
as you
up.
testified yesterday, wears rings on every finger, right?
Sometimes, often. And
Depends.
certainly in the later part of our relationship, that was more normal than not. But if he's filming or something like that, of course, he's not going to have his own jewelry on.
Your testimony in this
She's
trial
backtracking
was,
from her
quote,
testimony.
I don't know if I've ever known Johnny not to wear rings.
There's DUI.
Correct?
You need to put your microphone on, Miss.
Miss Bredehoff, Elaine.
Objection, Your Honor. Improper impeachment. If she's going to ask her question, then she has to show where that was and then.
I'll overrule the objection.
It's not improper impeachment, Elaine.
Your testimony yesterday was, quote, I don't know if I've ever known Johnny not to wear rings. Right,
Said-
Ms. Heard?
That's what I testified to, yes.
Okay. And he was wearing rings on every finger in Australia, correct?
Not all the time, not literally every single ring, every single day, but he often wears rings.
Not often, Ms. Heard. Your words are,
testimony
I've
was-
never known Johnny not to wear rings on every finger.
That is what I testified to.
Okay. And you testified that you bled as a result of this sexual assault, correct?
That is correct.
All right. And your feet were sliced up.
That's correct.
As
And
I
you
just said.
testified you had a bruise across your jaw.
That is correct.
And there is not a single medical record reflecting treatment for any of those injuries, is there,
Not a
Ms. Heard?
single photo.
I didn't seek treatment.
And when you were in Australia, Ms. Heard, you didn't take any pictures of the injuries you claim to have sustained, right?
I did not take any pictures, no.
But the mirror.
But you did take 2 pictures.
Of the mirrors. I took 2 pictures of the bathroom mirrors. That was the master bathroom where I was.
And you're writing
Let's please pull up Defendant's
photo,
Exhibit 374,
your
which is writing
face.
evidence.
wasn't in the mirror. You had to work to not have your face in the mirror. Taking a picture of a mirror is hard
You took this picture, right, Ms. Heard?
without having a
Yes, that's
reflection of
correct.
you in it.
And this is a mirror in the bathroom in Australia.
That's correct.
And this black paint on the mirror is from Mr. Depp.
That is correct.
He wrote on the mirror in black paint after his finger was cut off, right?
Yes, I only know that because there was blood as well as paint.
So you took this picture after Mr. Depp had injured his fingers, correct?
This was while I was packing when I was leaving.
Ben
That's a
has
yes,
testified
right,
he
Ms.
packed.
Heard?
That's what's the question? I'm sorry.
You took this picture after Mr. Depp had injured his finger.
That's correct.
And you took this picture after you had allegedly been assaulted by Mr. Depp, yes?
That's correct.
Yet you didn't capture yourself in the mirror, did you?
I don't see myself in the mirror. No.
Thank you.
Let's please pull up Defendant's Exhibit
Oh.
375.
Get it, Camille. That's my point. How do you take a picture without a
You took this
reflection?
picture as well,
You
right, Ms. Heard?
had
That's
to
correct.
move to
And
not
this
be
is
in the
from one of the
picture.
bathroom mirrors in Australia.
That's correct.
Yes,
This is also a picture taken after Mr. Depp had injured his finger.
That's correct.
Get it,
And
Camille.
this is also a picture taken after you had allegedly been assaulted by Mr. Depp.
That's correct.
You didn't capture yourself in the mirror in this picture either, did you?
I do not see myself in the mirror in that picture
No.
Is that because you didn't have any visible injuries on you?
And that's why
because
you
I was
didn't
taking a
capture
picture of the writing.
You're the one who assaulted someone with a bottle in Australia, isn't that right, Ms. Heard?
I didn't assault Johnny in Australia. I didn't assault Johnny ever. I couldn't.
And then after he was injured,
That's
he had to
gonna
hide
bother.
from you, right?
That is
In
incorrect.
5 bathrooms, 2 bedrooms.
That is incorrect.
Good cross.
You weren't scared of him at all, were you?
Why would I?
I
be?
have a mixed relationship with Johnny, and one in which I'm scared, one in which I love him very much.
I'm not talking about your mixed relationship. That night in Australia, after you cut off his finger with a bottle, you weren't scared of him at all, were you?
This is a man who tried to kill me. Of course, it's scary. He's also my husband.
She's not saying she's scared of him
Ms. Heard, I'm going to show you what's been
That
marked as
doesn't
Defendant's
track
Exhibit 371.
with IPV. She couldn't even say it. She knew, you know what she's getting at. Were you afraid of him? He tried to kill me. That was scary. But she never said she was afraid of him.
Do not believe these
Wow.
have been admitted into evidence.
No.
Wow. I've got to make a note. She couldn't admit
You
it.
can scroll down.
The reason this cross is so powerful is
No.
because it doesn't matter what the answer
Ms.
is.
Bretterhoff, if you don't have your microphone on, I cannot hear you.
Ms. Bretterhoff, get it together,
You
Elaine.
still don't have it on.
Elaine.
I need to take a look at the unredacted for a minute, Your Honor. Just bear with me.
All right.
I'm not admitting it into evidence yet. I would like to just
Okay. you
talk
can
to the
ask
witness about it
Go
if I
ahead.
could. Thank you, Your Honor.
Stop wrecking my flow, Elaine.
Ms. Heard, I'm going to show you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit 371. Do you recognize these text messages between you and Dr. Cowan?
I don't recognize these, no.
Who's Dr. Cowan?
He was my therapist that was recommended to me from Dr. Kipper. He and Dr. Kipper worked together.
He was your therapist at the time, correct?
That's correct.
And you had been seeing him for almost a year in March of 2015?
I know, right? She can't turn on the mic.
My guess would be about 6 months at that point.
Elaine is shook at this point. She can't even push the button on her mic. She can't find the button.
Your text messages are in gray, correct?
Your Honor, I'm going to ask that she show her the unredacted so that she can see the text exchange back
All
and
right,
forth
if you
if
can-
she wants to
That's
talk
fair.
about
All right, we'll
moving
pull that
in
up.
redacted
Sure.
later.
That's fair.
Pull it up.
That's fair. It sounds like you got your mic on, Elaine. Well done. It was a problem all day yesterday. Can you imagine being on a Zoom call with Elaine? Elaine, you're muted. Elaine, you're still muted. Turn on your mic, Elaine.
Seeing these unredacted messages, does this refresh your recollection that these are indeed communications between you and Dr. Cowan?
Yes, that's correct.
Doctor, your text messages are in gray, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And Dr. Cowan's are in blue?
That is correct.
Do you see the text message at the bottom of the page from March 8th, 2015 at 8:29 p.m.?
Robin
Yes,
Runkle
that's
did
correct.
not get in.
March 8th is the day that you were allegedly sexually assaulted by Mr. Depp in Australia, correct?
That is correct.
So on March 8th, 2015, you were in Australia,
That is correct.
and Mr. Depp's finger had just been cut off, right?
That is correct.
And you write to Dr. Cowan, quote, "I feel so lost. I can't talk. I don't know if I'll ever be able to change." End quote.
Oh,
Did I read that correctly?
That's correct.
You weren't able to change, were you, Ms. Heard?
I very much wanted to leave the relationship I was in, but I didn't have the power. I didn't feel I had the power to leave. I knew I was in a very toxic relationship with Johnny, and I knew I needed to change that. I knew it was, at this
that's
point,
true.
horrible for me. And I
I'm gonna
talked to
move
my
to
therapist
admit-
often about that.
Exhibit,
Oh, shit.
Defendant's Exhibit 371 as redacted with just Ms. Heard's message.
That
All right.
Your
text
Honor, I object
echoes.
because she has left out the next 2 lines from Ms. Heard that clarify even further. And I also
You don't need
think
to clarify.
Dr.
Bredhoff.
Cowan.
Miss Bredhoff.
Your Honor, may
Should
we
be-
please approach?
Elaine.
Sidebar. Ms. Vasquez, I'm going to ask Your Honor that Ms. Bredhoff, the court, I just need, what's your legal objections, Ms. Bredhoff? I can't have talking objections. Ms. Bredhoff, I'm sorry. I think if you look at the redacted, the court, you're saying they redacted more of her statements? Ms. Bredhoff, yes, they did not. She's got more in here, the court, right? Ms. Bredhoff, that gives the context of this, and they're trying to take it out of context and just put these 3 in. Right after that, she has 2 more. But she also has the ones before that. And then we have Dr. Cowan responding to it. Ms. Vasquez, Your Honor, she's able to, the court, but this is their evidence. This is not indiscernible. Ms. Bredhoff, when we were objecting when it was their case in chief, they were able to put context in, Your Honor. The court, you didn't object to having in the context. You didn't object to them having the context. Ms. Bredhoff, actually, we did. The court, no, you did not. Ms. Vasquez, Your Honor, the court, do you have any objection to the context coming in? Ms. Vasquez, it's our evidence. We would just like the text messages that I read into the record that Ms. Hurd has testified are her texts. That's it. I'm trying to make this as easy as possible for the court and Ms. Bredhoff by redacting the hearsay, trying to be respectful of the court's time and the jury's time. She's purposely interrupting the flow of this examination, and she's making argument. The court, she's got a valid objection. That's fine, Ms. Bredhoff. The next 2 are the same part of that. Same one, Your Honor. She's saying, Ms. Vasquez, clearly, I can't. Ms. Bredhoff, she wants to keep that out, but that's part of the exact same text exchange. The court, on direct, redirect. If you want to put that in there, I don't know if that adds to your case, but if you want to put that in there on redirect, you can redirect on it. Okay? Ms. Bredhoff, thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Vasquez, thank you, Your Honor. The court, thank you. Everyone's thanking each other, and we are going back to open court.
Look at the judge's body language. Elaine, the rules of evidence are simple and finite. It's not even a very big book. Anyway, I want to see
So
the
you
text.
write, Ms. Hurd, to Dr. Cowan, I feel so lost. I can't talk. I don't know if I'll ever be able to change.
Darn it, I got a terrible
Right.
screenshot.
And I said, I clearly can't figure this out, meaning the relationship.
You didn't say that. You
I
said
did.
not
Hello.
the relationship. Your text messages, clearly I can't figure this out. I feel so lost right now.
What I was saying to him
No,
is
Ms.
clearly I
Hurd,
can't
Ms.
figure
Hurd,
this
Ms.
out.
Hurd,
as in
that's
the
not my
relationship.
question. The text, just the text.
That's exactly what I was saying.
What you texted.
Not what you were saying.
Clearly,
What
I
did you
can't
say?
figure this out. I feel so lost right now.
That's what you said.
That's
what I was saying.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Hurd, you contend?
Your Honor, just for clarification, so those 2 next lines did come in.
They are in the redacted.
Okay,
copy.
good.
Yeah, they
All
were
right,
just
thank you.
published to the jury, Elaine.
You know what a deposition is, right, Ms. Hurd?
I've had several, yes.
Yeah. So you know what it's when someone provides testimony under oath.
That is correct.
You're aware that Ms. Lloyd was deposed in connection with this case, correct?
That is true.
And Ms. Lloyd's deposition testimony was played earlier in this trial, right?
I'm going to object, Your Honor. May we approach?
All right.
Thank you, Elaine. Elaine turned on her microphone. Snaps for Elaine. Elaine also asked to approach instead of just arguing it out in front of the jury.
Sidebar. Ms. Bredhoff, you cannot impeach somebody else's testimony. We have to impeach with them. That's that witness's testimony. She's testifying to what Miss Lloyd testified to, attempting to impeach her, and that's improper, Ms. Vasquez. I'm not impeaching her with this testimony. I'm stating what statements have been made in court. The court during this trial, Ms. Vasquez. During this trial, Ms. Bredhoff. And that's, oh my God, that's hearsay for her to testify to what she says somebody else testified. The court, that's not. I'll overrule the objection. Ms. Vasquez, thank you. Hi ho, it's back to open court we go. Dun, 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 hi ho, to open court we go. That's a song, isn't it?
So you heard Ms. Lloyd testify under oath that Mr. Depp never threw a can of Red Bull at her.
I can't remember if she didn't if she didn't recall that or if she said it didn't happen. I don't remember.
Let's go to the transcript.
I vaguely sense she didn't recall anything.
So it's your testimony that Ms. Lloyd would forget that Mr. Depp, a very famous patient of hers, threw a can of Red Bull that nearly missed her, according to your version of events?
To be fair, I just don't remember if she said when she testified that she didn't recall that incident or if it didn't happen. I don't remember what she testified to.
Mincing
But I have
words.
a vague sense that she didn't recall much at all.
Mincing words.
She recalled, and she testified in this courtroom that Mr. Depp never threw a can of Red Bull at her. That was her testimony, wasn't it?
I don't recall what her testimony was with regards to that one incident, no.
even when Amber evades the question,
I'm
Camille
going
just
to
keeps
move for the
going.
admission of Plaintiff's Exhibit 91A, and I've gone ahead and redacted Mr. Depp's writings as on hearsay grounds.
I'm going to object. Maybe we
Okay.
If you want the complete thing in, put the complete thing in. That's fine, but it's hearsay.
Sidebar. Ms. Bradoff. Your Honor, I'm going to object on the basis of Rule 2106. When part of a writing or a recorded statement is introduced by a party upon motion by another party, the court may require the offering party to introduce any other part of the writing or recorded statement which ought in fairness to be considered contemporaneously with it, unless such additional portions are inadmissible under the rules of evidence. So she's arguing completeness. The court, which would be inadmissible hearsay. Ms. Bradoff. Well, I don't know. I mean, I didn't have enough. What are you doing? Well, I don't know. I mean, I didn't have an opportunity to see which one she's going to move. The court, she's putting in Ms. Heard's statements, not Mr. Depp's statements. Ms. Bradoff. But I think that's supposed to say is. But is she doing all of Ms. Heard's statements or just one? Ms. Vasquez, some of them. The court, some of them. Ms. Bradoff. Then I would like to see it if, in fairness, others of Ms. Heard's should be in there as well. The court, I'll overrule the objection. Ms. Vasquez, thank you. The court, thank you. Ms. Bradoff. May we be told which pages? The court, can you tell her which pages? Ms. Vasquez, yes. Ms. Bradoff, will we know that before? Ms. Vasquez, I'm going to go through it as we go through it. The court, could you just tell her those pages? Ms. Vasquez, I'll call them out. The court, could you let her know before you go through it which pages they are? Ms. Vasquez, sure. Back to open court.
Let's start with the first page. It's a picture.
Your Honor,
It's a picture.
they haven't given me the pages.
This is a note you wrote in the journal to Mr. Depp, correct?
That's what it looks like, yes.
This is actually the first note you wrote to him in this journal.
I don't remember what the first note was.
Is that
The
not the
date
first
on
page?
this note is May 22nd, 2015, correct?
That is correct. That was during our honeymoon period.
This is just a little bit over 2 months after the events in Australia in March of 2015, right?
That's correct. We were back in a honeymoon phase. That was the period of sobriety I spoke about yesterday.
It's also 2 months after you punched Mr. Depp because you allegedly thought he was going to throw your sister down the stairs, right?
I hit him when he swung at my sister. And
Oh,
this is
oh,
written
oh,
months
oh.
later, yes.
On her
You
testimony,
thought he
she
was
said
going to
pushed
throw
sister,
your
not
sister down
swung
the
at.
stairs like he had thrown Kate Moss down the stairs, right?
He swung at Whitney, and I had heard a rumor, a vague rumor about that.
No.
And so it's what I thought of.
We heard some testimony from you yesterday about a trip you and Mr. Depp took on a train in Southeast Asia. Do you recall that?
This
Yes,
goes to
that's correct.
everyone's wrong.
That was when you and Mr. Depp went on your honeymoon trip, correct?
That's correct.
And that was in July of 2015?
Yes, that sounds right.
Let's take a look at Plaintiff's Exhibit 162, which is already in evidence.
Yep, this is her everyone's wrong but me. The lawyers didn't turn it over. That's their job. Whatever the doctor said, she's wrong too. The
You
nursing
were
notes
here
are
in this
wrong.
courtroom, right, Ms. Heard, when Malcolm Connolly testified to taking this picture?
That's correct.
This is the picture. This picture shows an injury to Mr. Depp's face, doesn't it?
I disagree. I've seen this
is,
picture.
okay, Ms. Heard,
I've seen
I
this
got the
picture.
answer.
There's no question
before,
pending.
and
You
he's
disagree?
not injured in it.
He's not injured in this picture.
Mhm.
That's
No
your
question
testimony.
pending.
Fine.
This one is Photoshop.
Ms. Heard,
No
I have
question
your answer.
pending.
Thank you.
Move to strike. Move to strike.
This is the only photograph from your honeymoon that shows someone with an injury, correct?
That's not true.
We haven't seen any photos of injuries to your face from that train trip, have we?
I don't believe my face was injured on that trip.
I'm going to keep going to the
Please
binder.
pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 394.
Intimidating binder. I think the judge is relieved to not have to do back and forths up to sidebar and to have
Your Honor, this
someone
is
in
another
charge.
recording I can represent to the court. This only contains Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard's voices.
and we're getting new evidence.
I'm going to move to admit the entire recording. I'm only going to play from 1:17:44 through 1:20:02.
All right, any objection?
Which plaintiff exhibit, Your Honor? I'm sorry.
394.
394.
And when we get these recordings, the jury only hears a snippet in court, but then
I think I
has
have
the
no objection. All right,
entire
I'll go
thing
with that. All right.
when they go
394 in
deliberate.
evidence.
And this
Thank
is
you,
why
Your Honor.
deliberations will take time. The jury's going to want to hear these whole recordings. And they'll get to you then.
I say when I say I'm going to try and change X, Y, and Z thing or network or blah, 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 I can only do those things. And since I have been doing those things,
What things have you been doing?
working on the mistake, not doing this great thing, trying to change something. That's last several times we've discussed.
Hence screaming when I spilled wine accidentally on you for falling asleep, and screaming in front of my kids and freaking Jack out. And that's trying.
I would appreciate. Yeah, you're right. You're right, Johnny.
That fucked him up, you know.
I'm sorry I fucked your son up.
No, it weirded him out. It never.
I'm so sorry I fucked your kids up.
You didn't fuck my kids up, but
I'm
it
so
was pretty
sorry.
fucking. It was pretty fucking weird for him, you know.
Because I jumped up and screamed for everyone. No, that's
Yeah.
You're right. I'm surprised he's. So you didn't go for the countdown. I'm sure that's terrifying.
I don't need your
No, why can't I?
your clever
It's not against me. And
comebacks.
It's so-
No, you think you're
weak
controlling yourself.
Your character.
You think you're controlling
Your
yourself.
characters become so clear, especially when you use them. It's embarrassing for you. I'm gonna walk away now because you're actually making me seem even worse. And believe me, I'm not gonna be calling you at 3 o'clock in the morning after having an Ambien and think I'm gonna just fucking forgive and move on. Trust me, it is gross how you're using your kids. I've done nothing but be there for them in a good way. And if you take that for granted, fine. You're right. Meet a woman who would not jump up and scream if she'd been spilled on 3 times in a row. And I hope you're happy with whoever that is, because that would be a special kind of fucking person. No doubt.
Meet a woman who wouldn't yell after she spilled on
It's you
3
and
times.
Mr. Depp in that recording, right?
That's correct.
And you're discussing what happened in the Bahamas in December of 2015, right?
No, that's not correct. We were discussing a part of it.
You're discussing when you screamed at Mr. Depp in front of his children, correct?
No, we were talking about a part of that argument.
Including when you screamed at Mr. Depp in front of his children.
That's not a fair characterization of what happened.
Mr. Depp says you screamed at him when he accidentally spilled wine on you, correct?
I realize that's what Johnny said.
Yeah. And Mr. Depp tells you that this freaked out his son, Jack.
That's what he said.
Johnny often used other people to back him up in our arguments.
You don't seem too concerned about that, do you?
I had a lot of concerns.
You don't mention Mr. Depp sexually assaulting you in this recording, do you?
That was not the point of that conversation. If I had gotten into the details of what happened to me with him, it would have been another fight.
You just accused Mr. Depp of, quote, using his kids, right? In that
He
recording.
would often
misheard.
use other people, yes.
Yes or no?
And you challenge him to find a woman who will not, quote, jump up and scream if she has been spilled on 3 times in a row.
That is correct.
Not a woman who would put up with sexual abuse, right?
That's fair.
I was pointing out the ridiculous nature of him expecting me not to react to something that basic.
Your Honor, would this be a good time for a break?
All right,
Morning
we
break.
can do that. That's
Thank
fine.
you, Your Honor.
All right, ladies and gentlemen,
Current
let's go ahead and take our
attorneys
morning
can't object
recess for
more. There's
15
nothing
minutes. Do not
to
discuss the
object
case with
to.
anybody. Don't do any outside research. We'll see you in 15. Okay, let's go ahead and come back at 10:47 then. All right, 10:47.
All right, we're back in about 15 minutes. All right, cross is resuming.
Correct.
Oh, they're bringing in the wedding
I'm going to
invitation.
move to admit and publish Plaintiff's Exhibit 1.
I didn't do drugs except it's on my wedding invitation. Oh, I'd been wanting to see this.
Sure.
I was so hopeful. It's happening. Oh, why are they approaching? Don't.
Sidebar. It's a sidebar. Court. We'll get you down with that microphone eventually. I guess this is one of the many times Elaine can't remember to turn on her microphone. Oh, see, yeah, Miss Bredoff. It turns off and on its own. I can't. It turns off on its own, Your Honor. I put it on and then I don't realize it's off. The court, I don't think so. Miss Bredoff, I have to object more often so that it stays on. Oh my God. The court, all right, what's your objection? Miss Bredoff, this was produced after. This is not an exhibit that defendants have. Miss Vasquez, I don't think that's true. Miss Bredoff, 1262, which was not in their trial exhibits. The court, is it in your evidence? Miss Vasquez, well, nevertheless, this is an email from Miss Hurd. I'm not certain that that's true, first and foremost. Second of all, this is an email from Ms. Heard, the court, okay, Ms. Vasquez, and I can use her statements after the fact. Court, all right, Ms. Bredoff, but it's not for impeachment purposes. The court, it's a plaintiff's? Ms. Vasquez, plaintiff's, yes. Ms. Bredoff, it should have been provided in discovery, Your Honor. We produced our exhibits. Well, that's a stretch. Ms. Vasquez, it's not direct examination, Ms. Bredoff, but it's not impeachment. There's nothing about it that's impeachment, Ms. Vasquez. It is. It's her statement. It's an email. She just testified. I laid the foundation, and frankly, Ms. Heard should have produced this. This is her email, Ms. Bredoff. She should have produced it. Ms. Bredoff, this was produced in discovery. This was in discovery. She was asked about it in UK, Your Honor. Ms. Vasquez, so it was produced in discovery, so what's the objection? The court, what's your objection, Ms. Bredoff? Because it was not a trial exhibit. That's what we got objected to. The court, I think it's Exhibit A is in Exhibit, Ms. Bredoff. It's not one of our exhibits, Ms. Vasquez. It has a Bates number. It was produced in discovery, and it's my exhibit. Ms. Bredoff, it's not a trial exhibit. The court, it's cross-examination now. Ms. Bredoff, but it's not an impeachment. There's nothing that impeaches her. The court, I'll overrule the objection. Ms. Bredoff, all right. Ms. Vasquez, thank you. Back to open court.
This is a schedule for your wedding weekend, right, Ms. Heard?
Yes!
No, it's not. It's a proposed draft of a schedule. It ended up being quite different.
Yeah, your original idea was to do drugs on an island after your rehearsal dinner to the drug-fueled monster that you were about to marry, right?
Thank you, Mom Sillon.
As the email suggests, there was going to be weed on the island. This does not reference the cuddle puddle that I just referenced to you.
Let's look at Plaintiff's Exhibit 1263.
Your Honor, I'm going to ask to show, first of all, this one hasn't been produced. This has not, it's a brand new trial exhibit, so I don't have it. I'd like an unredacted
It's impeachment.
copy, and then I'd like an unredacted copy to be shown to the witness.
Once
You
they
have an
just
unredacted copy.
once they decide to use it, they should be turning over the
We can make one,
unredacted.
Your Honor.
But
Okay.
I said I would
Your
not
Honor,
bite
may
his
we
head off.
approach about this?
Get it, Camille.
Ms. Vasquez, Your Honor, may we approach about this? The court, all right. Time for another sidebar. Sidebar time. All right, the court. Ms. Bredoff? Ms. Bredoff. Oh, I'm sorry. Ms. Vasquez, Your Honor has already overruled Ms. Bredoff's objection that it's not on our, quote, exhibit list, end quote. The court, I know, for cross-examination. You did it too. We entered new evidence for your cross-examination. Ms. Bredoff, Your Honor didn't allow any of our new evidence in. The court, no, that's not true. Ms. Vasquez, cross-examination. Court, here's all the 1804, 1558, Ms. Bredoff. Those were the pictures from Ben King, indiscernible. Your Honor, that's the only one we were able to allow in, and that's because they didn't produce them in discovery, Ms. Vasquez. Cross-examination doesn't have to be on the exhibit list. Ms. Bredoff, they have to give us an unredacted copy so we can see it. The court, I understand now, but it doesn't have to be on their exhibit list to have cross-examination. You agree with that, right, Ms. Bredoff? Well, it depends. I think it depends on the circumstances, Your Honor, whether it has to. Cross-examination just doesn't. If it's for impeachment purposes and rebuttal purposes, yes, the scheduling order was quite clear. If it's not on your exhibit list and it's not for impeachment, it's not permitted in. It depends on whether it's for impeachment or rebuttal. The court, well, we're past that. Ms. Bredoff, I don't know what this document is. The court, if you need to see it, but they need to see the unredacted part. Ms. Vasquez, the only thing redacted, Your Honor, is I'm going to show her one text message. The only thing redacted is personal identifiers. The court, there's a whole chunk there. I just don't know what's there. Ms. Vasquez, there's text messages from other people. I was trying to make things a little easier. This is how Ms. Bredoff produced her text messages, so it has text messages from a bunch of people. The court, is there something that was supplied to you from them? Ms. Vasquez, yes. The court, do you have the discovery? Ms. Vasquez, it's there. I mean, this is how Ms. Heard produced her text messages. Ms. Bredoff, we gave copies to them of everything that we had, Your Honor. They're now indiscernible. Not giving us copies, but then they're giving us copies of redactions. We need to be able to look at it. The court, I agree. Ms. Vasquez, it's just a text message. The only thing redacted is it's one text message that I would like to present. It's hers. The court, I understand, but they're entitled to see the unredacted page. Ms. Vasquez, okay. The court, so if you don't have that now, maybe you can try later. Ms. Vasquez, I have it. We can show it to her. The court, okay. Just show her that. Ms. Vasquez, thank you. Okay. Ms. Bredoff, thank you, Your Honor. The court, thank you. And back to open court. Back to open court.
Do you think Camille will put Amber's journal entries and writing
Ms. Heard,
on
I'm
the
only
mirror
going
side by
to-
side?
Your Honor, I'm going to object to asking questions while I'm looking at this.
They can't for
If you could give her a
closing.
moment, please.
Sure.
Thank you.
She was talking to the court, Elaine.
Sidebar, Ms. Bredoff. During lunch break, Your Honor, they can give us hard copies, so at least I'm not asking them to give it to me in advance, but if they don't have hard copies, at least during the lunch break, the court, you'll get your hard copies for the ones at lunchtime. Moving forward. Ms. Bredoff, moving forward. The court, moving forward. Ms. Bredoff, that's fine. And then hard copies of whatever they can't give me right now. The court, right. Right now, you'll just look at the laptop. Ms. Bredoff, I understand that. Ms. Vasquez will produce it. Ms. Bredoff, but at the lunch break, they can give it to me, the hard copies. They just said this. Okay. The court, that's fine at lunchtime, okay? All right, so summarizing. At lunchtime, they get the hard copies. All right, cool. Let's move on. Ms. Bredoff, thank you. Open court.
Does Johnny have to win all 3 points or just 1 or 2? He has 3 different causes of action, so he's suing for 3 claims. He's suing for the print article, the digital article, and the digital article sent in the tweet.
All right, thank you.
So, I mean, for him to win, he needs to win one of those.
Okay, this is a text message that you sent to Mr. Depp, correct?
Ooh,
That is correct.
Text messages.
You sent this message to Mr. Depp the day you had your 30th birthday dinner, right?
That is correct.
And you write, quote, "Hey, baby, bring up something to drink and or a joint. I'm in if you are. See you in a minute."
Let's
Question
do
mark. That's
drugs.
sex. Did I read that right?
That is correct.
Just fine.
And then the next day you went to Coachella and consumed MDMA and mushrooms, right, Ms. Heard?
I did. Johnny was not there for that.
You made a video driving to Coachella with your friends, didn't you?
That is correct.
There's a video?
I'd like to pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 1264.
There's a
For the record,
video?
Your Honor, this only has
There's a
music
video.
without any words on it.
And again, it's a new one, so I'd
Is
like
it
a
from
copy of
Instagram?
It's going to be played.
It's going to be played. I would like a copy of it. It's going to be played. It must be an Instagram
There is
video.
no sound other than a
May we
song.
approach? Yes, sure.
May we approach? Did you hear the judge? Yeah, sure. All right.
Sidebar. Miss Bredoff. So we have an audio tape that's a brand new exhibit, Miss Vasquez. Video. Miss Bredoff, video, and I'd like to see it before she shows it to the jury. Miss Vasquez, can we play it for you? Can we play it for the witness and counsel without sound, and then you can publish it to the jury? The only sound is the music, so it doesn't have... Oh, this is the video from Coachella or whatever. So it doesn't have any lyrics. The court, all right, you want to view it just for the witness and counsel? Miss Vasquez, sure. The court, okay. Miss Vasquez, thank you. Back to open court.
Publish it to the jury. Darn it. Don't we get any more?
This is a video you made when you drove to Coachella with your friends for your 30th birthday, right?
That's correct. I'm not quite sure which one of us made the video, but that's correct.
That's fair.
You're featured in that video driving.
That's correct.
She
And it's
wasn't
set to the
filming it.
song Miss You by the Rolling Stones. Is that right?
That's correct.
That was a message for Mr. Depp, wasn't it?
Ooh.
No, that's ridiculous.
This is a situation where you were trying to get Mr. Depp to pay attention to you. Isn't that right?
No, I was trying to stop him from using.
And because he ran away from you at the first sign of trouble, you call him a monster.
I was
right?
trying to stop him from turning into the monster. The drugs are the key that opened the door.
Who was the real monster in this relationship, Miss Heard?
Ooh.
Lives in Johnny, half of Johnny. It's not all of Johnny. The other half of him is wonderful and beautiful and the man I love.
That's odd.
And he's the monster for not responding to you,
That's not what made him the monster.
for
No.
needing space from you.
The monster was not the guy who needed space. The
Not
monster
for
was who
doing
he
drugs.
was when he came back.
Not for doing drugs, Miss Heard. Not for being violent. Just for
Wow.
needing space. That's when
Wow.
you called Mr. Depp the
Wow.
monster.
Incorrect.
Let's listen to Defendant's Exhibit 598C, which is already in evidence.
And let's not do this anymore because I'm really getting frustrated. And I'm really, really, really sick of this argument.
Stop, I'm sorry.
Okay? So let me go and you go and I'll speak to you in a couple hours. Okay? Okay?
Okay.
Why are you saying stop? May I
so,
go?
Please, it causes me so
May
much
I
stress
go?
when you walk away from me with that. It's like you don't understand how much worse you're making this.
I can't believe this.
Please, you're making it worse for me.
Okay, I'm sorry for you.
Please, I'm only trying to tell you so that you know you're causing me immense stress right now when you walk away like that. There's no reason to be mad.
Well, then say goodbye. I haven't walked away. You're not saying goodbye. You won't let me fucking leave. Let me
Oh my
leave.
God. Stop rushing me! Stop pushing me in the corner and then poking me with a stick and then saying, why are you saying the words you want me to say? Stop poking me! Stop rushing me! Stop throwing me against the wall! I'm going, what? You don't like that wall? You don't like the fucking wall? Stop pushing me!
Remember? I'm not pushing you. I'm rushing you. I said, I need space. I don't want this conversation anymore right now. I need space. And I will take my space. Whether you like it or not, I will take it. and you will take your space.
I will take my space.
But if you keep halting
I'm not doing anything
this
to you.
and continuing
I'm
with
not
the
continuing
rhetoric,
it. I'm begging you to stop.
I don't. Okay, stop. I'm stop. Stop. Now I have to go. Okay? So we will speak to each other in a couple of hours. Okay? I'll give her
Picking her nose?
some kind of revelation makes you feel better. You know? I hope I do too. But we'll just see when I get home. We'll just talk, or we won't talk, or we'll finish this, or we won't finish it. But this is not love. This is not happiness. This is not.
Please stop doing this. Please, you're causing me so much fucking stress. I'm gonna die at this age. I'm gonna fucking die. You're causing me so much stress. Please stop. Please, I feel like I have heart attacks almost every day. Please stop. Please stop doing it. Please stop. He's so fucking mean.
Why are you
so hard to listen
Please
to?
stop. Please stop. I've been begging you not to fight. I just said, can we please have a normal argument? Just even a normal conversation, fucking normal argument. And for the last hour, I've been begging you to please just leave it at that. Let's just go on with our night. I would have been able to come in with you. We would have been able to let it go in a few minutes. It would have been fine. It would just, if we allowed ourselves to have fucking normal arguments. Please, you're killing me with this. You're killing me. You're fucking killing me. Fuck.
Wow.
Sean, could you please?
Please
I
take
want you
me.
to just go. I want you to take your medicine or whatever. I'm sorry that I've upset you
Yeah,
this much.
Thank you, Sean. I'm ready to go. Thank you so much.
I'm sorry I've upset
I'm really
you.
ready.
I'm sorry I've upset you. You
You
leaving
and Mr.
causes
Depp
me
in the
so much
recording, correct,
stress.
Ms. Heard?
That's correct.
You just won't let him go, will you?
That's not true. We were outside of his studio and he wanted to go and use. It was a pretext. The claim that he was upset with me was a pretext so that he would go on a bender. I knew that pattern by the time this recording happened.
He wanted to go and use.
That's your testimony now that you were outside Mr. Depp's studio.
I believe that
And he was going to go use.
Excuse me?
He was going to go use drugs. That's your testimony now.
We were outside
your
his
testimony
studio,
now?
his man cave house, if you will, in the car, I believe, during that recording.
And he was going to go inside and use.
That was the pattern. And as you can hear from my voice, I'm very, very, very scared of entering into the next cycle.
Did you hear scared?
Under what I had been conditioned to understand we were at that point in our relationship.
That's not true, is it, Ms. Heard? Mr. Depp was trying to go inside his house to see his daughter, Lily Rose.
She might have been over that day, but
So
that's not
it's your
what he was
testimony
getting out of
now?
the car to
He's
do,
going to go
and that's
use
not what I
drugs
was
with his
stopping
kid
him
at the
from doing.
house?
Let's play the beginning part of that recording where Mr. Depp tells you
Unbelievable.
that he wants to go inside to see his daughter.
Yeah, let's go play the beginning of the audio. Do it.
And let's not do this anymore because I'm really getting frustrated. And I'm really, really, really sick of this argument.
Stop. I'm sorry.
Okay? So let me go and you go and I'll speak to you in a couple hours. Okay?
That's fair.
Okay?
Stop. Okay.
Why are you saying stop? May
you feel
I
so-
go?
May I go?
We'll circle back to this, but it's your testimony that you were outside Mr.
They're going to
Depp's
find the other
studio.
audio.
We were
clip.
in the car.
You were in the car outside of Mr. Depp's studio,
That's correct.
and he wasn't telling you, please let me go inside my house to see my daughter. He was indicating to you that he wanted to go inside to do drugs. That's your testimony.
I know my
she
testimony is that I
speculated.
knew what he was going inside to go do. I knew what
She was
stage of
speculating.
the cycle we were in. I knew the patterns by then, and I was desperately out of time trying to interrupt that cycle.
Let's go to May of 2016.
She has testified that she had no power in this
Yesterday, Ms.
relationship.
Heard, Ms. Bredehoff, your attorney, showed you
Sorry.
certain pictures from May 21, 2016. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
If we could please pull up Defendant's Exhibit 710, which has already been admitted into evidence.
She also testified that she needed the temporary restraining order to change the
Ms. Heard, you
locks.
testified yesterday that this
Because he
is
was
a
always
photograph
coming in.
taken of you on May 21st, 2016. Do you recall?
Yes, that's correct.
And keeping this exhibit up, if we could please do a split screen, Tom, and also pull up defendant's
Oh, here
exhibit
comes the necklaces.
714, which has already been admitted with redactions.
They're doing it.
Ms. Hurd, you testified yesterday that this is a photograph that was also taken on May 21st, 2016, correct?
Yes, although the one to the right might have been taken the next day. I can't be sure. The reason I say that is because there's light in the background. So it looks like it was taken in the daytime, which
Not the
means
different
maybe it was the
necklaces.
next day.
Didn't you testify that you
She testified.
took different pictures in different lightings on
That is-
May 21?
That is correct, yes.
She said that.
And you're wearing two thin necklaces in this picture on the right. Is that correct?
That is correct.
You testified that these pictures were taken the same night.
The one on the right looks like it was taken in the daytime because I can see the daylight behind me.
But you testified that they were taken the same day.
She did.
I don't know if I think I testified that they came from the same incident of the
Oh, they're
same
gonna
day,
pull up your
not
testimony.
necessarily taken on the same day.
Let's please pull up defendant's exhibit 712, which has already been admitted. You testified yesterday that this is another photograph of you on the night of May 21.
That's correct.
And keeping this exhibit up, can we please do a split screen and also pull up defendant 713, which has already been admitted?
They're bringing it up.
Ms. Hurd, you testified yesterday this is also a photograph of you from the same night, correct?
That is correct.
You testified yesterday that the only difference between these two photographs is that the light was turned on.
That's what it appears to be, yes.
The light is on both of these pictures, though. Isn't that right?
It looks to me like the one on the left has the vanity light, the makeup lights, you know, the more yellow hued ones that go around the mirror on. And then the one on the right looks like it doesn't have those.
Isn't it true you just edited these photographs?
No, I've never edited a photograph.
Didn't you just enhance the saturation for one of these photos to make your face look more red?
No, that's incorrect. I didn't touch it.
How would we know?
You were sitting here in this courtroom when Mr. Isaac Baruch testified to seeing you the week after May 21, 2016, correct?
I was here.
Mr. Baruch testified that he saw you
Baruch
on May
is a
22nd while
king,
you were
and we love
changing
him.
the locks of your penthouse. Do you recall that testimony?
I do. I just don't know if he was right about the date, but I do remember him saying that.
Testified it was his birthday, the day after his birthday.
I believe it was.
Mr. Baruch testified that he saw you repeatedly in the days following also, correct?
That's correct.
And Mr. Baruch testified that he saw no marks or injuries on your face, correct?
That is what he's testified to.
You were sitting here in this
Everyone's
courtroom
lying.
when Officer Melissa Sines testified by deposition about being called to the Eastern Columbia building on May 21st, 2016, right?
I saw her testimony, yes.
And you heard Officer Sines testify that she did not see any injuries on you that night, correct?
I heard her testify she did not consider this injured.
No.
She
Miss
sure remembers
Officer
all this
Sines
testimony.
Testified that she met with you and she did not see any injuries on your face. Isn't that correct?
She did not consider this injury.
That's not what she said.
Ms. Hurd, my question is a bit more nuanced.
Mm-hmm.
So is my answer.
Oh, snap.
Sidebar. The court, what's the objection? Ms. Bradoff, again, she's reciting other people's testimony. The court, which Ms. Bradoff, her version of those, the court can do. Ms. Bradoff, Ms. Hurd is responding exactly correct. Officer Sands said she didn't consider that an injury. Then the court, that was when she was seeing the picture, but her original testimony in the deposition we played was that she said she didn't see any injuries. You showed her a picture. She said she didn't consider that an injury. Ms. Vasquez, two different things. Ms. Bradoff, it's just improper cross-examination. The court, it's not improper. It's not an out-of-court statement. It's an in-court statement. Ms. Bradoff, it's Ms. Vasquez testifying to what that woman testified to. It's hearsay. The court, oh my God, Elaine, why? Court, it's not hearsay. I've sustained this over and over, and for the record, you can have an ongoing objection. So she's noting that for appeal. Ms. Bradoff, thank you. The court overruled. Ms. Bradoff, this time, in addition to that objection, Ms. Hurd is correctly characterizing what Officer Sains testified to. Ms. Vasquez, no, she's not. Court, no, I just told you that was two different statements made by the officer, and on redirect, you can come up and say exactly what happened, Ms. Bradoff, okay? But please, also, don't be so animated when you lose an objection. Last time you left here, Ms. Bradoff, I apologize, I caught myself right after. The court, I almost brought you right back. Wow. Ms. Bradoff, I apologize, I did not mean to do that, and you're right, I should not have done that. Court, I will call you back next time, don't do it again. Ms. Bradoff, I won't. Ms. Vasquez, thank you, Your Honor. The court, okay. Back to the court.
Can we put these down?
Having a hostile witness would mean you get to lead them.
Confusing the witness.
We're already there in leading. So
My question is more nuanced.
thanks, 87
You
Sparky.
sat in this courtroom while Officer Sines
Don't let it go.
testified.
Don't let it go.
that She saw you the night of May 21,
Don't
2016,
let it go.
face to face, and didn't see any injuries on your face. Isn't that correct, Ms. Heard?
I believe she was testifying about these photographs, and she said that I was not injured in them.
She's trying to reframe. It's not going to work.
Is it
Pull
your
it up.
testimony under oath now that Officer Sines testified that she saw injuries on you when she saw you in person on May 21?
Sorry, let me clarify.
Yep,
I was
do better.
testifying that I know that that's what Officer Sines said, that she didn't consider my red puffy face injured. That's what she said.
The red puffy face. That was your counsel's question, correct?
You know,
That
they
was her
have
said-
testimony in the UK.
you know they have the transcript, right?
That's incorrect, and you know that, Ms. Heard.
I disagree.
It's inconvenient for you that Officer Sines didn't see injuries on you on May 21, 2016.
It
Is that
doesn't matter
right?
what's convenient for me.
Right. Officer Tyler Haddon also testified by deposition about
Oh
being
my
called
God.
to the Eastern Columbia building
Oh
on
my
May
God.
21, 2016. And he also testified no injuries on your face on May 21, 2016. Isn't that correct?
They both said that they did not consider me injured.
They did say that.
They did not
They said
see
they didn't
injuries
see
on
injury.
your face on May 21, 2016.
Jeez.
Isn't that what their testimony was?
What their testimony was is that they did not consider what my face looked like to be injury.
The
They
jury
didn't consider what they
watched.
walked on in the house damage, but it was.
The jury watched.
Let's go back to that recording.
I didn't. I've got to take a note.
It's Defendant's Exhibit 598.
Somebody handed her a Post-it with the timestamp. This team works so well together. I'm just in awe of how well these
testified
lawyers
that
work together and
You
trust
and
each
Mr.
other.
Depp were
Oh.
in the car outside of his studio. Is that right?
Yes.
The
And you were trying to
point
prevent him from going into his studio to do drugs, right?
is getting to the truth
Yeah, to effectively start another cycle.
in this defamation case.
Not that Mr. Depp was just trying to go into his house to see his daughter, right?
And
His daughter might be one of the people that was in the house at that time, but that's neither here nor there. That
Your
wouldn't have
testimony is now,
prevented him
Mr.
from entering a cycle.
Your testimony is now that Mr. Depp
gonna have
does
to
drugs
answer
in
this
front
in
of
a
his
minute.
children.
Well, first of all, I know he does. Second of all, it wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have stopped him from using with his friends, which is the problem, not whether or not his daughter was there.
Let's play, please, Defendants 598 at 4948 through 5035.
Is it?
5035.
so I don't know if any of this will end up in Amber Heard's favor.
I'm not.
I'll talk
I'm
about it at the
itching. I
break.
don't want to be doing this. I want it just to. Why don't you just say, okay, baby, I understand. I'll go home and you do your thing, hang out with your daughter, and then I'll see you in a couple hours and we'll talk about it. Is it that difficult to say that? Or you just fucking hate me and you want to be shitty about it? Please. Just fucking, it's not that difficult. Okay? I don't want to stand here in a driveway and argue with you. Okay, well, I'll see you in a little bit, okay? Please? Please. Just let me know if you're going to go somewhere. Just let me know, please, so I know.
And almost an hour later, you're still arguing with Mr. Depp outside, right?
I don't know how long that argument lasted. No.
Ms. Heard, you testified about seeking a domestic violence restraining order against Mr. Depp,
There we
correct?
are to the TRO.
Yes, I have.
And how you wanted to do it discreetly,
That's correct.
that you wanted as much privacy as you could have,
Yes, that's
Are they
correct.
gonna bring the
and how you
TRO
walked
in?
out to a sea of paparazzi and cameras and photographers, right?
That is correct.
How'd they get
And how
there?
this overwhelmed you
It was overwhelming. Yes,
because you didn't want this attention on you.
that is correct.
If we could please pull up Defendant's Exhibit 800, which has already been admitted into evidence.
Exhibit 800. Wow. This cross has been the best thing we've seen in this trial. And those are the walls at Stanley
This is a
Moss
photograph
Courthouse.
of you taken inside the courthouse when you obtained the DVRO, correct?
That's correct.
And your friend Raquel Pennington took this photograph?
Yes, that's correct.
Because you needed to document your time at the courthouse getting a DVRO?
She just took a picture of me. I'm assuming it was in relation to my divorce. Yeah.
Makeup? No
Could you
makeup.
please pull up Defendant's Exhibit
Makeup? No
801,
makeup.
which has already been admitted into evidence?
Makeup? No makeup. I wonder if they're going to bring up the nurse's notes that talked about her having
Ms.
a little
Heard, this is
cyst
another
on her
photograph
face.
of you taken inside the courthouse. Isn't that right?
That is correct.
You're having a photo shoot inside the courthouse while you were getting a DVRO?
That's a little snarky.
I would not characterize it that way.
Yeah,
Ms.
that's a little
Vasquez.
snarky.
You have a mark on your face, right, Ms. Heard?
Yes.
You didn't use your
No
bruise
makeup?
kit this time to cover it up?
No, it was the only day I actually walked out of my house without makeup on. I had to be stopped. My best friend saw me in the bathroom starting to put makeup
I had
on
to
and
be
told me not
stopped.
to.
I had to be stopped.
All right. Can we please pull up Exhibit 1?
Yes, plaintiff's.
The photo shoot
Yes,
was a
thank
little
you, Your Honor.
snarky. They could have
Apologies.
objected. They
It's already
didn't,
been admitted into
Yes, ma'am.
evidence.
because it can make Camille look snarky. She hasn't done it much. Oh, there we
You
go.
wrote this op-ed, right, Ms. Heard?
With the help of the ACLU, yes.
That's what you testified
Their
to in this
fault.
courtroom, right?
That is correct.
And this was published on December 18th, 2018, correct?
That is correct.
Aquaman was released on December 21st, 2018, right?
Yes, that sounds correct.
And that was your first big blockbuster, big budget role, right?
I disagree, but it was the first time I had like a leading role in a movie of that size. Yes. Well, second time. Yes.
What was your first time?
But the first one was the
Justice
film I
League.
talked about before. I mean, yesterday, Justice League. It introduced the character. So, technically,
Was she
the
in
second
Justice League?
But you were the love interest in Aquaman, correct?
That is correct.
When was Mira? She was
Now,
the
at least
mate.
parts of this op-ed are about
When
Mr.
was
Depp,
Mira
isn't
in
that
Justice
right?
League? I haven't seen it.
It's about what happened to me after.
You sat here during opening statements when your attorney argued that the context of your statements in this op-ed matter, correct?
That's correct.
So let's go through some of that context.
Oh, shit. Yes, ask about the skin condition. I don't think she will. They got
You
to it on
wrote here,
direct.
quote, friends and advisors told me I would never work again as an actress, that I would be blacklisted.
That is
You're
correct.
referring to your accusations of domestic violence against Mr. Depp in the statement, aren't you?
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
You're referring to your accusations of domestic violence against Mr. Depp in the statement, aren't you?
In general, I'm referring to being associated with domestic violence.
And you're referring to what you claim happened after you got an ex-party domestic violence restraining order against Mr. Depp in May of 2016, right?
This is getting to the point of the
Are you asking
defamation.
if that's what I was writing about?
That's what you're referring to, correct?
Can you just give me the question again? I'm sorry.
You're referring to what you claim happened after you got an ex-party restraining order against Mr. Depp in May of 2016.
That's correct.
That's what your lawyers argued. I was going to say, just
You
why
also
are we
wrote,
evading
quote,
that?
questions arose as to whether I would be able to keep my role of Mira in the films Justice League and Aquaman. This is also referring to your accusations of domestic violence against Mr. Depp, right?
This is referring to what happened to me after I got my TRO, my restraining order.
Evading.
Against Mr. Depp, right?
That is correct.
These questions arose only after you accused Mr. Depp of domestic violence in May of 2016, allegedly, right?
Yeah, from the time I got the TRO, being associated with domestic violence, that's what it's a reference
This
to.
is linking.
You also wrote,
This is
quote,
linking.
imagine a
two.
powerful man as a ship like the Titanic. That ship is a huge enterprise.
Or the Black Pearl.
When it strikes an iceberg, there are a lot of people on board desperate to patch up holes, not because they believe in or care about the ship, but because their own fates depend on the enterprise.
So this all goes to the
In this
defamation
op-ed, you're saying Mr. Depp is a
by
ship,
implication.
right?
I'm making an analogy to a powerful man as a ship.
The powerful man you're referring to in this analogy is Mr. Depp, right?
I was talking about a bigger issue actually than just Johnny. I was talking about what we as a country were talking about at the time of writing this, which was when powerful men in general do something horrible or something they shouldn't, how there is a system in place to protect them, clean up after them, maintain them. afloat.
Which
this
is fair criticism.
a reference to not just Johnny. It was about what was happening as a culture when we were addressing a lot of Me Too issues for the first time.
Which is
The
fair
iceberg
criticism.
is you in this analogy, right, Ms. Heard?
I would not say that. That was not what I intended. No.
So this is another reference to your accusations against Mr. Depp.
No, this is about what happened to me once I left that relationship and got a TRO and became associated
Once I
with
left
domestic
that
violence.
relationship. Bing,
But it's your
bing,
testimony
bing.
that this op-ed isn't about Mr. Depp, right?
It's about what happened to me after. That's
It's
correct.
about your experience after obtaining a temporary restraining order against Mr. Depp, right?
That is correct, among other things.
But it's not about Mr. Depp.
It is not about him,
Mr. Depp is making it about Mr. Depp, right?
That's what she testified to.
ironically.
It's kind of like that Carly Simon song, right, Ms. Heard?
Ooh.
I don't know what you mean.
It's a little snarky.
Let's talk about the defamatory statements in the op-ed that you also claim are not about Mr. Depp.
This again goes
Then
to the
2 years
defamation
ago,
by
I
implication.
became a public figure representing domestic abuse, and I felt the full force of our culture's wrath for women who speak out. This is about Mr. Depp, isn't it?
No,
You wrote this in 2018, right?
exactly.
And 2 years prior was 2016, right?
That's true.
Okay.
That's correct. It's
So,
not about
May of
Johnny.
two-
It's
Ms.
about what
Heard-
happened to me
Ms. Heard,
after.
my question was May of 2016 is 2 years prior to December of 2018, correct?
That's correct.
All right. May 2016 is when you publicly accused Mr. Depp of domestic violence, right?
I got my restraining order at that time.
And you publicly accused Mr. Depp of
Her
domestic
attorneys
violence.
argued this.
Yes, that was attached to my restraining order. So yes,
May of 2016 is when you sought a restraining order against Mr. Depp.
that's correct. And I had to
May-
provide testimony for that.
Right. And May 2016 is when you walked into court with a mark on your face to obtain that restraining order. Yes or no?
That was the day I walked into court with a bruise on my face. Yes.
Yes or no?
And you were photographed with that mark on your face, weren't you?
I walked out to a bunch of photographers. Yes.
May 2016 is when
You
you
were
told the
photographed
world
by
that
your
Mr. Depp
friend.
had physically abused you during your relationship. Isn't that right?
That I had to provide testimony as part of my restraining order application. Yes.
And that's how you became a public figure representing domestic abuse. Right, Ms. Heard?
That's what your lawyers
From
are
that
arguing.
point on. Yes.
That's when you claimed you faced our culture's wrath,
That's
right?
when it started. Yes.
But it's your testimony under oath that this statement is not about Mr. Depp.
It is not. It is about what happened to me afterwards. Was the more interesting thing for me to write about.
The next statement.
What happened after
reads,
she spoke up against Depp?
I had the rare vantage point of seeing in real time how institutions protect men accused of abuse.
Which is a fair
It's
criticism
also
of
about
Hollywood.
Mr. Depp. Isn't that right?
Not just about him, but he is included in that. Yes.
He's the man you accused of abuse 2 years prior to this op-ed. Isn't that right, Ms. Heard?
Yes, but I wrote this op-ed in the context of many men at the time that were public figures or in this public eye being accused as well. So it was a reference in general to a larger phenomenon, not just Johnny.
He was included.
Not just Johnny.
Not
just Johnny.
There's the defamation by implication,
And then
potentially.
you write, I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. This one's also about Mr. Depp.
I did not write that.
Well, you've accused Mr. Depp of sexual violence in this very courtroom, haven't you?
Yes, but
That's
I
why she
was
shouldn't have brought
intending
it
to
up.
keep that private when this was published. I
That's why she
had not
shouldn't have brought it up.
publicly ever accused him of that.
I'm going to move to strike everything after the word yes.
No, I'll overrule the objection. Go ahead.
Elaine, turn on your microphone if you want to say something.
You may not have written this title, but you published it, didn't you?
I did not publish a title. I retweeted the article that included the title in it because that was the article.
Let's pull up, please, Plaintiff's Exhibit 3, which is already in evidence.
The retweet is one of the counts. There are 3 counts of defamation here, and it's defamation by
This
implication.
is a tweet from your Twitter account on December 19th, 2018, correct?
That is correct.
And there's the
Your
title.
Honor, it's already in evidence?
It is.
evidence.
It is in evidence.
Thank you. So on December 19th, 2018, you tweeted, quote, today I published this op-ed in the Washington Post. Did I read that right?
That is correct.
And the tweet includes a link to the op-ed we were just looking at, correct?
That's
This
correct.
is the strongest claim
And you
for
can
them.
see that the title of the op-ed in your tweet is, quote, opinion, Amber Heard. I spoke up against sexual violence. Right?
Coffee.
Yes, you don't get to change the title of an article you're retweeting.
And that's the title that you put on your Twitter, correct?
I did not put it on my Twitter, no.
You linked it to your tweet.
I
tweeted it.
retweeted the article.
You published it.
I retweeted a
Stop
link to an
splitting
article that
hairs.
I wrote.
And you published it on your Twitter account. All right.
I retweeted it.
You testified yesterday that you didn't have any control over the title and just now of the op-ed when you retweeted it. Is that correct?
That is correct.
This wasn't a retweet though, right?
A tweet?
It's not
Perhaps
a retweet. It's a
not
quote
retweet.
tweet.
I'm not quite sure.
It was
I guess
a tweet.
Now we don't understand Twitter. It's a quote
I
tweet.
misspoke. Excuse me. Tweet, not retweet.
You included a link to the electronic copy of the op-ed in your tweet, right?
That's what I was trying to say earlier, and I might have misspoke. It's like I'm trying
It's
to
linked.
attach it.
Fair.
So you included a link, right?
Yes,
to the
that's
op-ed.
correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
So you must have seen the title of the electronic version of the op-ed before you tweeted it, right?
I may have. I just didn't notice it.
Not very careful about what you publish, are you, Ms. Hurd?
I just didn't notice the
Snarky.
title.
How did you not notice the title if
didn't
you
need
were
to
trying
include
so
the
hard to
link
keep
the
that
electronic
private?
version of the op-ed in your tweet, did you?
That doesn't
How
make
else would I
sense.
have linked it?
Well, you didn't need to include the link to tell the world that today you had published this op-ed in the Washington Post about women who are channeling their rage and about violence and equality into political strength despite the price of coming forward, right?
I couldn't attach it with a paper clip.
No, but you didn't need to attach it at all
That's kinda
to
funny.
tell the world
Oh,
that
I see
you
what you're
had
saying.
published an op-ed.
No, the goal was to tweet about it and to provide a link so that people could read it.
The op-ed is in your name, right?
That's correct.
So if you had noticed the title of the electronic version of the op-ed before you included it in your tweet, you could have asked the Washington Post to change it. Isn't that right?
No, that's not.
But you didn't do that, right? You never asked the Washington Post to change the title.
I didn't notice it, and I didn't ask them, nor do I think I needed to.
She wanted to keep that part of her life
At the bottom, you
private
see
and
that
she
there's another
didn't
tweet
notice
from
it.
December 19th, 2018.
Yes, I do.
It's unbelievable
one-
to me.
It reads, I am honored to announce my role as an ACLU ambassador on women's rights. Did I read that right?
That's correct.
So you announced your ACLU ambassadorship the same day you posted the op-ed on your Twitter.
I think
right?
that was always the plan, is to attach the article with the announcement that I was an ambassador.
For impact.
Your Honor, if I may, would this be a good time to stop for
To break
lunch?
for lunch.
No, it's too
No.
early.
Okay.
Sorry.
20 more minutes.
We got to keep going at least till 12:30.
Okay, that's
thank
fine,
you.
Your Honor. Thank you. Ms. Hurd, you have no evidence that Mr. Waldman's 3 statements are the reason you are allegedly no longer active in the L'Oreal campaign, do you?
Well, I mean, other than my
Speculation.
awareness that they can't use me because of all of the online attention that generated.
And you have no evidence that Mr. Waldman's 3 statements are the reason that the Stan media opportunities allegedly stopped, do you?
Thank you, Jacob.
Yeah, I know they couldn't attach my name to their promotional materials because of the online stuff.
In fact, there was a lot of reasons why you were no longer active in these endeavors. Isn't that right?
Oh dear. Where are we going?
I disagree with that.
Reasons that had absolutely nothing to do with Mr. Waldman's statements. Isn't that right?
I disagree
I wanna
with
see what
that.
that is.
There was a lot of publicity about your relationship with Mr. Depp around the time Mr. Waldman made the 3 statements at issue, right?
I do not recall.
A lot of really negative publicity for you, Ms. Hurd. Isn't that right?
There's been an ongoing smear campaign, yes.
An ongoing negative publicity campaign.
It's an orchestrated smear campaign.
Orchestrated
You
smear
have no
campaign.
evidence of that, do you, Ms. Hurd?
Just look me up, you'll see.
Let's
The
take a
jury
look
can't
at
look
some
you
of
up, Miss Hurd. Objection, Your Honor. She's encouraging the jury to do outside research.
All right.
Your Honor, she just told the jury to do outside research. Hold her in contempt. I'm being facetious.
Right. Sidebar. The court. Okay, the articles. Miss Vasquez, the articles. The court. Okay, Miss Vasquez. So obviously, here's a copy for you, Your Honor. Court. Sure. Miss Vasquez. So I plan to do the same thing with these, Your Honor. Miss Bredoff. These are all new exhibits that point to Miss Hurd. There can't possibly be a reason why they wouldn't have put them in trial exhibits before. They knew she was going to be making these claims, Miss Vasquez. This is exactly what Mr. Rottenborn did during cross-examination of Mr. Depp, and they're not going to be admitted into evidence. I just plan to read the headlines and the court read the titles, headlines like he did. Miss Vasquez, there you go. Miss Bredoff, first of all, Your Honor, let me just put on the record that it is not correct that that's exactly what Mr. Rottenborn did. Those were in our trial exhibits. In fact, they're in the very first part of our trial exhibits. Were all of those. So I do have an ongoing objection to using anything that wasn't put into evidence as part of the trial exhibits. They knew she had a counterclaim. They should have had it as a defense, part of those exhibits. The court, I understand your observation. Again, it's cross-examination. I'll allow them. I want to give you an opportunity. You're not going into the text of the articles, just talking about titles and date. Ms. Vasquez, I plan to read the title, and then I'm going to be admitting them into evidence. The court, not into evidence. Ms. Bradoff, we need copies. The court, you'll get those copies. Ms. Vasquez, I will get them copies. The court, and you are saying all of these are for the 3 statements? Ms. Vasquez, yes. The court, okay. Ms. Vasquez, there you go. Ms. Bradoff, Your Honor. Ms. Vasquez, there you go. Ms. Bradoff, Your Honor, I have a question. The court, sure. Ms. Bradoff, if we can look at 1272 for a moment, that's May 29th, 2020, which is after 2 of the court, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you. Ms. Bradoff, oh, I'm sorry. The court, that won't help me. I appreciate it. That's not me. That's Judy. Which one? Ms. Bradoff, if you look at 1272, if you look at the date, it's May 29th, 2020. I'm obviously seeing these for the first time, Your Honor, so I'm trying to go through them. The court, remind me again. Ms. Bradoff, 2 of the April 8th, April 28th, and the court, June 24th, laminated. It helps me. So the May 2020 would be after 2 statements. Ms. Vasquez, that's right, Your Honor. And I think for relevance, Ms. Bradoff's objection is that they're not being cited in the title to Mr. Waldman's statement. It's talking about another allegation that was out in the press, indiscernible statements. So for Ms. Heard to allege that Mr. Waldman's statements caused her to lose opportunities, and there's articles before and after that were in the press, and I think we have the indiscernible to argue that, Your Honor. Ms. Bradoff, so Your Honor, I'm trying to keep up, Your Honor. The court, that's all right, take your time. Ms. Bradoff, this last one is 1273, Your Honor. I don't see the date on it. The court, 1273, I don't see a date on it either. Ms. Vasquez, May 24th, 2020. The court, yeah, so we'll take out 1273. I'll sustain the objection on 1273. Ms. Bradoff, Your Honor, I would object to 1274 too and that title. I think it's not indiscernible. A reputational issue for her if somebody makes an allegation about her having an affair. I don't think it's appropriate. I don't think that's indiscernible. Court, yeah, okay, all right, Ms. Bradoff, indiscernible. Ms. Vasquez, indiscernible. I mean, we just admitted evidence today about her having an affair with James Franco the night after April 21st, so these are all allegations. Ms. Bradoff, it's not an allegation. I almost just said it's not an alligator. I don't even know why. The court, you know, what if, instead of saying allegation, I just say alligator from now on. The court, I'll take the objection on this one, all right? Is there any more, or is that 1267, 1268, 1271, and 1272 so far? 1275, Ms. Bradoff. This is after the 3 articles, the court. This is after all 3 of the articles. Ms. Vasquez, Your Honor, again, it's surrounding indiscernible about the statements that they were indiscernible. The court. So you're saying, so you're not offering just for her reputation before, you're offering for her reputation after as well. That affects her reputation. Ms. Bradoff, I think that opens up the, oh, here we go again with the UK. I think that opens up the door, Your Honor, to the UK judgment. I can't. I think she gets indiscernible if she opens up that door. The court, she's doing damages. She has a limit to her damages. She's starting her damages after 2020, correct? Ms. Bradoff, Your Honor, this one is testimony from the trial that says, quote, Amber Heard stole my sexual assault story. Ex-aide tells libel trial, end quote. The court, right. We had a lot of testimony from the UK. I feel like we've been at the UK trial. I don't see how that would open any door. Ms. Vasquez, it's public knowledge, Your Honor. Ms. Bradoff, I also don't think that it's an appropriate one. Again, she's testifying. Ms. Vasquez, she testified here. The court, just the headlines. To talk about her reputation that's out in the public about her reputation. I mean, I did about 25 on Mr. Depp on all kinds of different issues of reputation. I think that goes to damages. Any other ones? Ms. Vasquez, sorry, Your Honor. Ms. Bradoff, note my objection, but I understand your ruling. The court, I'll note your objection. I'll overrule your objection. Thank you. I appreciate it. Any more? Ms. Vasquez, yes. I'm sorry. The court, okay. Ms. Vasquez, last one. The court, okay. Thank you. Ms. Bradoff, I'm sorry. I'm slow. Can't. Oh my God. Wow. Let me read that one again. Ms. Bradoff, I'm sorry. I'm slow. The court, no, take your time. Which one? 1276, Ms. Bradoff, this one. The court, all right. She didn't, when did she file her lawsuit? Maybe I don't have this clear. When did she file her counter? Ms. Bradoff, August 10th, 2020. The court, okay, so all these, so these are all before that. I'm just making sure. Ms. Vasquez, yeah. The court, I don't have that on my sheet. Ms. Vasquez, Ms. Bradoff, I know this. The court, I'm glad you do. Ms. Vasquez, we filed a complaint on the court. You've got it. 1278 is the last one, or the one I have in my hand. 1278 is the last one. Ms. Vasquez, this is the last one. Ms. Bradoff, okay. Ms. Vasquez, do you want me to go through, start going through these? The court, since you're going to put them on the screen for her, just identify them so Jamie can know it's not been identified. Ms. Bradoff, Just to be clear, Your Honor, are there 4 out? 1269, 1270, 1273, and 1274? The court, well, we did the ones that I have in. Ms. Vasquez, why don't we do the ones we have in? 1267. The court, 1267. Ms. Vasquez, 1268, 1269. The court, 1268, 1269. There we go, 1269. Ms. Vasquez, 1270, 1271, 1272, 1275. The court, 75. Insert Jeopardy music here in your head in the background. Ms. Vasquez, 1276. The court, 76. Ms. Vasquez, 1277. The court, 77 and 78. Ms. Vasquez, 1278. Ms. Burdoff, may I ask while we're up here, how long you're going to take with her today? Are you going the rest of the day? Ms. Vasquez, no, I'm not going the rest of the day. The court, I assume you'll have these questions and then we'll break. Is that okay? Ms. Vasquez, that's fine. The court, yeah, you're going to go into the afternoon and then maybe after the first break we'll be on redirect. Sounds good. Ms. Vasquez, thank you, Your Honor. The court, Back to open court.
So,
this is a
Ms.
great
Hurd,
question.
my last question to you was that there was a lot of negative publicity for you around the time that Mr. Waldman made these statements. Isn't that correct?
I believe that they were made. I believe that the statements kind of kept being attached to new defamatory, or articles that were like smear campaign sort of attack articles, is what it.
Okay. Let's go through some of the articles
Smear campaign.
that were out in the press. So, Plaintiff's Exhibit 1267.
Wow, that's a lot of exhibits.
Just publish that just for the witness. That would be great. Thank you. This is an article published on February 2nd, 2020, and the title is #Justice for Johnny Depp Trends After Amber Heard Admits to Hitting Actor in Audio Clip. Do you see that?
I see that.
And if we can go to Plaintiff's Exhibit 1268.
Because they're not asking for questions that call for hearsay, because Camille's doing a really good job. That's why there's no objections.
On February 3rd, 2020.
Camille is very good at asking questions that don't elicit
the title,
improper
Amber Heard
answers.
Admits to Hitting Johnny Depp in Recording.
I don't think it'll come
That
up on
was when
cross.
his lawyer leaked an edited tape.
It came up yesterday. Oh, his lawyer
Heard.
leaked an edited tape. What?
Do you see the title? Amber Heard admits to hitting Johnny Depp in recording. Do you see that?
I see the title.
Okay. We could please go to Plaintiff's Exhibit 1269.
Wow. Yeah. This
one was published on March 17th, 2020. Amber Heard slammed door into Johnny Depp's head, reveals new audio. Do you see that?
Yeah, these are more of the PR plants.
Go to 1270. This one was published on March 31st, 2020. Amber Heard to be sacked from Jason Momoa's Aquaman after Johnny Depp's controversy, reports. Do you see that?
I do.
You can go to Plaintiff's Exhibit 1271.
Camille's done a great job being thorough and easy to follow, because she's not yelling and she's not moving so fast we don't follow. She's done a very good job of being methodical and almost surgical. See the title that says, Johnny Depp says ex-wife Amber Heard sliced his finger off and it, quote, erupted like the Vesuvius? He said that in testimony.
I just don't know when that was. I've never seen that article.
Do you see it now?
We can go to 1272.
And again, this is what they went over with all of Johnny Depp's articles too, saying...
This one was published on May 29th, 2020, and it says, when Amber Heard confessed to smashing a door into Johnny Depp's head, clocking him in the jaw. Do you see that?
I see that.
Again, this is what they went over for damages for Depp too.
1275.
So this is going to damages.
This one was published on July 15th, 2020. Amber Heard stole my sexual assault story. Ex-aide tells libel trial. Do you see that?
This was Adam Waldman as well.
Oh, shit.
It doesn't say Mr. Waldman. It actually says Kate James also says she often received abusive text messages from Johnny Depp's ex-wife, doesn't it?
Oh,
shit. He threw down the article.
Miss Heard.
Oh, shit.
Mr. Waldman threw the newspaper at me afterwards.
Miss Heard, that's not my question.
What
My
was your
question
I'm
is,
sorry.
The title of the article says, Amber Heard stole my sexual assault story, ex-aide tells libel trial. Kate James also says...
She's asking the question, Elaine. Turn on your mic.
With Adam Waldman.
I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Okay. Let's go to Plaintiff's Exhibit 1276.
Well, that's in there now.
Amber Heard admits to hitting fucking baby Johnny Depp in court audio. Do you see that, Ms. Heard?
That's correct.
Okay. Let's go to 1277.
Oh my
Published July 28th, 2020. Amber Heard's sister thought she was going to kill Johnny Depp, claims a witness. Do you see that, Ms. Heard?
I see that.
And 1278. Published on July 28th, 2020. Johnny Depp was the victim of abuser Amber Heard, London's High Court told. Do you see that?
I do see that.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
Now time to break for lunch.
Our lunch recess then. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and take our hour lunch recess at this point. Do not discuss the case with anybody and don't do any outside research. And we'll see you now.
Oh my goodness. Y'all. Elaine in the mic is frustrating. There's a button on the mic that they can push to unmute and she's just not doing it. There we go with the stolen sexual assault story. We've seen that alleged before, and now the jurors know about it too, which is a OMG.
We'll come back at 1:35 then. Is that fine? All right, thank you.
Which is an OMG moment in court before everything leaves. There's Larry. We'll see if he pops in. OMG. Good afternoon, law nerds. We are resuming the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial.
Okay, so this is just after the lunch break. Recess was taken from 12:33 to 1:35.
And Amber Heard is still on cross-examination.
The bailiff, all rise. Please be seated and come to order. The court, all right. Are we ready for the jury? It's always no. Ms. Vasquez, Your Honor, may we approach? The court, sure. Sidebar. The court, all right, yes. Ms. Vasquez. Okay. So I plan to. The court, okay. Ms. Vasquez, ask Ms. Heard about, the arbitration. So Ms. Heard, the court, arbitration. Ms. Vasquez was served with an arbitration demand, and the court, arbitration for what? Ms. Vasquez, defamation. The court, the arbitration for this case? Ms. Vasquez, yeah. Ms. Bredhoff, no, it was a breach of contract. Ms. Vasquez, no, it was defamation, and I have the court, it was defamation. Ms. Vasquez, a demand for arbitration for defamation in California in October 2018. We've argued that, the court, okay. Ms. Vasquez, I'll give that to you. The court, okay. Ms. Vasquez, that Ms. Heard opened the door when she talked yesterday in response to Ms. Bredhoff's question about how Mr. Waldman's statements have been traumatizing her, and she said, quote, I just want him to leave me alone. I wanted to move on with my life, and he won't let me. By making cases like this, he won't let me. I have to be here today. I have to be reliving it every day, end quote. Court, right. Ms. Vasquez, so we are arguing that she opened the door and that she was the one who fired the initial shot when she attempted to move arbitration against Mr. Depp 2 months before the op-ed was even published. So it was October of 2018. The op-ed was published in December. The court, okay, give me more background for this arbitration. What was this arbitration about? Ms. Vasquez, Ms. Heard's arbitration actually filed by Ms. Heard in California. The court, before the op-ed. Ms. Vasquez, before the op-ed. It also goes towards those statements that she can't indiscernible. Mr. Depp suing her, so that distorts her credibility. The court, okay. And she filed for arbitration for it. Ms. Vasquez filed arbitration for defamation. The court, defamation from what? Ms. Vasquez, for Mr. Depp denying in an article, a GQ article, that he ever hit her. The court, okay. Ms. Bredhoff, this is the subject of a motion in limine. Your Honor granted a motion in limine and said none of the arbitration can come in. The arbitration was filed to go back to the divorce, and it was a breach of contract, a violation of the court right, so it was a divorce. All right, okay. Ms. Bredhoff, the divorce decree. The court, okay. Ms. Bredhoff, the arbitrator ended up finding he did not have jurisdiction. That was the end of it. There was no finding. There was no nothing. The court, okay. But you just want to get into that she filed the arbitration? Ms. Vasquez, right. Ms. Bredhoff, I don't think she said anything about the arbitration. I was just saying that he violated the terms of the domestic relations order. He didn't deny a public filing. It was very, very private. The court, okay, all right. I remember this now. Okay, sorry, yeah. In dealing with the divorce, the arbitration, she's saying that he violated the terms of the agreement. Miss Bredoff, by this gentleman's quarterly article that he wrote, Miss Vasquez. It wasn't violating the divorce agreement. It was an actual, indiscernible demand arbitration for defamation. The cause of action was defamation. I have the exhibits. So the fact that she filed it before the op-ed came out is highly relevant, and she opened the door with her testimony that Mr. Depp won't leave her alone, and she filed a counterclaim after the fact. So I think it's relevant, Your Honor. She's opened the door. She said that these counterclaim statements continue to make things difficult for her, and she can't stop reliving it. But in fact, she's the one who fired the first shot. She just wanted to be left alone. Well, then why did she demand arbitration? The court, okay. Miss Bredoff, I don't know how that opens the door at all, Your Honor. This was an arbitration filing that the arbitrator found there was no jurisdiction, so he dismissed it. And she didn't do anything further. The court, I know, but she filed it. What she's saying is because she testified that, quote, I wanted to be left alone, I didn't want to have anything to do with it, end quote, but then she filed this. So I'll allow limited questioning. Ms. Vasquez, very limited, Your Honor. The court, what was the questions you were going to ask? Ms. Vasquez, the questions are, I want to repeat her testimony from yesterday. The court, okay. Ms. Vasquez, in which she says that she wants to be left alone. I'm going to ask her, quote, you commenced a legal proceeding against Mr. Depp for defamation in October of 2018, and that was indiscernible allegations. End quote. And then the court commenced an arbitration, right? Ms. Bredoff. Yeah, I think she can't say, quote, legal proceeding, end quote, because that arbitration is very different. The court is different. I agree. Commenced an arbitration. Ms. Vasquez, I understand. I'm happy to do it that way. And then, so I want her to look at the demand for arbitration. I'm not planning on publishing it. The court. I think you get the first question, but that's all I'm going to do. Ms. Vasquez, quote, this is a demand for arbitration filed against Mr. Depp in California, correct? End quote. Ms. Bredoff, I don't know how that would be relevant. The court, no, I think she opened the door with the first question about you did file it. Ms. Vasquez, my question, quote, is that Amber Heard plaintiff versus Johnny C. Depp, end quote. I just want to show the caption. Ms. Bredoff, why would she need to do that? She can just, Ms. Vasquez, in the signature block signed by her attorney, she testified that, the court, I'll give you the first question. I think that's fair since she's in the date of when it happened. Ms. Vasquez, okay. And so, quote, can you confirm that it was October 2018, end quote. The court, okay. Ms. Vasquez, that's 2 months, quote, that's 2 months before the op-ed was posted, end quote. The court, that's fine. Ms. Vasquez, quote, and 6 months before Mr. Depp filed this defamation case, end quote. The court, that's fine. Very limited. Ms. Bredoff, nothing beyond that. The court, okay. Ms. Vasquez, thank you very much, Your Honor. The court, all right. Back to open court.
Oh, we're getting back to cross.
Some of her sexual violence hoax facts as a sword, inflicting them on the public and Mr. Depp. Do you see
We
that?
fixed it.
Yes, I do.
Is that one of the statements that you allege are defamatory? It's defamatory?
That's correct.
Okay.
She just
Can we
asked about the
please
defamatory
go
stuff.
to Plaintiff's
fixed
Exhibit 881B.
Sorry, guys. We fixed it. So this is just calling
And if
up
we
the
could go
exhibit
to
for these
page
headlines on
10
the
and
counterclaims. So after lunch, we're getting into counterclaims.
In Plaintiff's Exhibit 881B, Depp's lawyer Adam Waldman said the various discrepancies prove that nothing Heard and her friends said about the events of May 21, 2016 could be considered credible. Quite simply, this was an ambush, a hoax. They set Mr. Depp up by calling the cops, but the first attempt didn't do the trick, he told the
I want them to turn
dailymail.com.
their mic off. I want jelly beans too. I'm going to get jelly beans for tomorrow.
The officers came to the penthouses, thoroughly searched and interviewed, and left after seeing no damage to face or property. So Amber and her friends spilled a little wine and roughed the place up, got their story straight under the direction of a lawyer and publicist, and then placed a second call to 911. But even this didn't have, apologize. You're fine.
Turn on your mic, Elaine.
Sidebar. Miss Bredoff. She's reading beyond his statements. Miss Vasquez. I stopped myself. The court. She stopped herself. Miss Bredoff. Okay. Miss Vasquez. Actually, Your Honor, while we're up here, I tried to work this out with Miss Bredoff. Unsurprising to you, we were unable to come to an agreement. I'm going to be moving to admit these articles in their entirety. The court. Okay. Miss Vasquez. And the reason is, Your Honor, is that just like the op-ed, it came in the entirety, even though Miss Heard is only alleging 3 of the statements. The court. Correct. Ms. Vasquez, in the article, and I think the court for defamation, you have to look at the context. Ms. Vasquez, correct. So to evaluate the defamation, to evaluate the defamatory meaning, so on that basis, I'm going to move to admit it. Ms. Bredoff, I'm going to object, Your Honor. There's a lot of hearsay in both of these documents. It's different than the op-ed. The op-ed is Amber Heard writing the op-ed, and then to be questioned on it, there's also the issue of a matter of public concern and intent here. The rest of this article is not about Adam Waldman, it's not Johnny Depp. It's other people saying things, and it's hearsay, and it's highly prejudicial to Ms. Heard. The court, okay. Ms. Vasquez, well, I disagree. Ms. Bredoff, and it doesn't have anything to do with the context of what he said. The court, this might be a partial. Ms. Vasquez, a partial. The court, maybe it could be connected to Ms. Vasquez. I think, if I may just be heard on this. The court, all right. Ms. Vasquez, this is really important to Mr. Depp, obviously. The alleged defamatory meaning of Mr. Waldman's statements have to be read in context. And I should point out to Your Honor that Ms. Heard, not Ms. Bredoff, but previously Ms. Heard, was represented by other attorneys in this matter, and they're commenting in this article. And so Mr. Waldman's statements are really response. We argue, right, I'm not sure Ms. Bredoff will agree or disagree, but we argue that these statements are opinions, first and foremost, and second of all, they are response or self-defense of Mr. Depp in his case. So, I think that it's important that these articles come in their entirety. And again, to be perfectly frank, these aren't great articles for Mr. Depp. I don't plan to publish them to the jury. I just want to submit them into evidence. Ms. Bredoff, if I may be heard on that further, Mr. Waldman doesn't know what else is in that article when he makes those statements. That's somebody else choosing where to put different things. He has admitted, and we will be putting the testimony in, that he made those statements, but he wasn't the author of this article, so the content is not relevant to what their meaning was on it. Instead, it would have a lot of hearsay from other people that he had no control over. He had control over what he said, and he was not saying that there's no way they could prove that he had knowledge of what the rest of the article is going to say, and therefore have context. I think it's highly prejudicial and very much hearsay. The court, all right, so how could the context of the article change the extent of 714? Ms. Vasquez, defamatory statements have to be read in the context of the other text within the article. The court, if it is all attributed to Mr. Waldman. Ms. Vasquez, no, I don't think that's true. I mean, the court, I think so, because somebody else can't place his statements there and it become defamatory because they're placed within an article. Ms. Vasquez, I think they have to be read in context, Your Honor. The court, I'm going to sustain the objection. Ms. Vasquez, thank you. Ms. Bredoff, thank you. Back to open court.
If you're going to object and ask to approach, at least turn on your mic so we can hear what's happening.
This is another article, Ms. Heard, where you argue that Mr. Waldman's statements are defamatory, correct?
I don't know if this is taken from that article because I can't see the article in full.
You've redacted
page 11 of the article.
You've redacted it. You've redacted it. Of course it's redacted.
Reads, we have reached the beginning of the end of Ms. Heard's abuse hoax against Mr. Depp. Is that correct? Is that one of the what you claim is one of the defamatory statements said by Mr. Waldman?
I believe so.
Thank you.
Camille doesn't want to give her a chance to explain. That's for redirect. Redirect can explain. She wants to point out to the jury that she didn't do it. Don't give her a chance to explain.
Sir, you're not aware of any career opportunities that you lost as a result of Mr. Waldman's statements, are you?
Well, it's kind of hard to point to the jobs you're not offered, right, to the gigs you don't get.
It's hard to point
to the
exact one.
You were not replacing Aquaman 2, were you?
They released me from my contract, and I fought to stay in it, and they kept me in it. I just don't know how much I'm in, actually, of the final cut.
Can we please pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 343? And I believe that one's been admitted already into evidence.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And just for the record, we're playing from 24601 to 24720.
I said to Travis, I said to you, hey, tell Travis what just happened.
You told me to do it. You told me to. You said, go do that.
I said, no, tell him what just happened.
And I lied.
And that you punched me in the fucking thing. And
you figured it out.
And you said, no, fuck it. No, I didn't. What the fuck are you talking about? And I watched you lie. And then I
didn't punch you, by the way. I'm sorry that I didn't hit you across the face in a proper slap, but I was hitting you. It was not punching you. Babe, you're not punched.
Don't tell me what it feels like to be punched.
You know, you've been in a lot of fights, been around a long time. I know. Yeah.
No, when you fucking have a close.
You didn't get punched. You got hit. I'm sorry I hit you like this, but I did not punch you. I did not fucking deck you. I fucking was hitting you. I don't know what the motion of my actual hand was, but you're fine. I did not hurt you. I did not punch you. I was hitting you.
How are you?
What am I supposed to do? Do this? I'm not sitting here bitching about it, am I? You are. That's the difference between me and you. You're a fucking baby.
Because you started.
You're such a baby. Grow the fuck up,
because you
Johnny.
Physical fights.
Yep.
I did start a physical
Yeah,
fight.
you did, so I had
Because-
to get the fuck out of there.
Yes, you did. So you did the right thing, the big thing. You know what? You are admirable.
That's you and Mr. Depp on that recording, right, Ms. Hurd?
That's correct.
And you said you hit Mr. Depp, right?
Yeah, I had to hit his body to get
Ms.
him out
Hurd,
of the door.
my question was, you said on that recording that you hit Mr. Depp, right?
Yes, I did.
And you
There we
accused him
go.
of being a baby for not wanting to be in a physical fight with you, right?
Incorrect. I accused him of being a baby for
Oh.
complaining about me
That's
hitting him
outside the
when he
scope.
was trying to get through the door. I was trying to barricade.
You meant to punch me in the jaw, right?
Are you asking me what he said on the
Yeah.
on the recording? Yes, he said that.
And then you respond, I meant to hit you, didn't you?
As I explained yesterday, I was trying to get him off the door,
And you said, I remember, I did mean to hit you.
meaning the door. The door was on my feet. I
You've heard
reacted
this-
instinctively to that.
Now, you've heard this audio before, haven't you, Ms. Hurd?
Yeah, we've already had this trial before.
Yeah, you've played, it
We've
was
had this
played for
trial
you when
before.
you were deposed in
No, you haven't.
2016 in connection with your divorce from Mr. Depp, wasn't it?
You didn't have this
That's one
trial
of the
before.
times I've heard it, yes.
So you've had plenty of time to think about how to respond to this recording, haven't you?
I don't know what you mean by that.
Interesting.
Well, let's take a look at how you responded to it the first time.
Oh.
Can we please pull up what will be marked
You're changing your
Plaintiff's
testimony.
Exhibit 1261?
That's what she's getting at. You're changing your testimony. You've had plenty of time to think about how you're responding, and now
The
you've
next
changed.
thing that I'm going to play to
Your Honor?
you
Okay.
as cue.
There's an objection.
Oh, if you want to come.
She keeps saying new. This isn't new. If it's the deposition, it's not new.
The court, do you want to come to the bench for a sidebar? The court, is this her deposition? Ms. Vasquez, correct. In the divorce proceeding, the court, you've got to give us a reference point. Ms. Vasquez, I apologize, the court, so we know. Ms. Vasquez, Ms. Hurd was being deposed and we played this recording. Ms. Bredoff, that's improper where you impeach. You need to ask the question, and then if her answer is different from her deposition, then she can play that question and answer. The court, this is cross-examination. Ms. Bredoff, well, I understand it's still cross-examination, but there's still a proper way to impeach and an improper. You can't just play the deposition excerpt and say, so, the court. She did ask the question. She said, quote, let's see how you did the first time, end quote. So I assume it's a different answer to the question. But I don't have a copy of that. I would just like to know where we are referencing the deposition. Ms. Vasquez, absolutely. Ms. Bredoff, the deposition, if we could, get the line and the page number, the court, the line and the page number before we start it. Ms. Vasquez, I will do that. Let me do that. Ms. Bredoff, and then we can see that. Ms. Vasquez, thank you. The court, Back to open court.
I don't
So,
know.
Your Honor, for reference, and I will provide a copy of the deposition, Ms. Hurd's deposition in the divorce. It's page 372, lines
I did not hear
starting
that.
at line 5 through 377, line
Depp will
12.
go last in closing. So closing will be Depp, Hurd, and then a rebuttal from Depp.
Approach, Your Honor.
Which portion
Your
that's
Honor,
being
with
used
permission, may we please
as part of
play
it. Who will do closing? It will probably be Ben Chu and Camille Vasquez. They did the opening.
Page number again,
Yes,
please.
absolutely.
And for the other side, it'll probably be Rottenborn and Elaine, because that's who did it. The opening. That's how it should be.
5 to 3.
Why does she keep looking away when answering? She keeps looking at the jury.
12.
So when she looks to the
Line
side,
12.
that's the jury. Thought she testifies. The only time she landed a punch was on the staircase. She did. She did testify to that.
After reading it.
I'll overrule objection.
Well, that's fine. You
Thank
don't
Your
have to
Honor.
think it
If
is.
We can please have it published to the jury in the gallery.
Let's publish it to everyone.
The next thing that I'm going to play to you
Audio or video?
as cue.
Video.
Listen to this, please. Let's keep on.
Well, the internet will be happy about this.
Your Honor, maybe stop that.
Oh no, why are we approaching? Why?
Sidebar. The court. Yes. Ms. Bredoff, I object to them playing it. They've got the transcription on there. That's not appropriate. If they want to play the video deposition, that's one thing, but indiscernible. Ms. Vasquez. All right, I'll talk to them about it. Court. Yeah. Ms. Bredoff, they can do it through reading the deposition, Your Honor. They don't need to do that. I asked them to take it off the screen.
They can do it through reading the deposition, Your Honor. They don't need to do that.
They don't need to do that. Yes, they do.
Could you take it off the I'm assuming it's going to say screen. Screen, yes. Screen, please. Ms. Vasquez, Your Honor, we're just going to put something over it. The court, okay, that's fine. Ms. Vasquez, thank you. Ms. Burdoff, I have no objection, Your Honor. Ms. Vasquez, can we please start it over? Whereupon the following audio was played.
Okay. That's fine.
Thank you.
I have no objection.
Can we please start it over?
What's happening? Are we getting the video? It is smart to use the video. They have to see the difference. And that is very important. And that is proper impeachment, I think.
The next thing that I'm going to play to you as
They won.
cue. Would you listen to this, please? Housekeeping.
Anyway, the bathroom.
Wow.
You just kept going. You just kept going. You kept going. You tried to close the door 3 times. You know, please.
Yeah, they did. They covered the transcript. You're right. It was rolling down here. That's fine.
I accidentally, I swear.
Kind of a silly thing to argue over.
I guess stretched your toe.
She's not eating in court. She's eating in deposition, not in court.
I've been down. You are supposed to kick the door. I mean, said put the door. Get more open. So
But I did not mean to do that.
I was bent down behind the door.
I did not do anything to her. I did not kick at the door or push the door so that it would hit you. I did not. I swear. I mean, that was not my intention. I think I remember when the door scraped my toes.
Okay. So you told him in that excerpt that you hit him with the door but did not intend to hit him, correct? Did you say that?
I said whatever I said in that recording. I
Okay.
don't.
I said whatever I said.
It's hard for me to remember every single.
And that's a recording marked as exhibit the punching.
Q. That we just
Q.
played.
Q. Would you continue to listen to exhibit Q?
Are these from the same day?
I reacted.
This is going to be a long bit of cross right now. We're going to get into all of this deposition, I imagine. And then the stairway incident. But they're showing her disinterested.
I then stood up.
Wow.
I don't even
And
know
eating.
if I might have said, what the fuck? You know, whatever. That just got hit in the head with the fucking water in the door.
I'm so sorry. I did not.
So this is impeaching that she responded to this audio, the same audio that was just played in court. She responded differently at the deposition.
I remember hitting you as a response to the door thing.
So that's what's going on right now.
That's exactly what I just told us.
And she's not even listening. She's joking with her attorneys.
I'm really sorry about hitting you with the door. Hitting your head did not mean to, nor
You didn't mean to hit me in the head with the door, but you meant to
I did.
punch me in the jaw.
I meant to hit you. And
She doesn't think this is a big deal.
I did not do this thing with the door. I do remember. I did mean to hit you.
So that you didn't mean.
Well, we're eating. I'm eating too.
No, God, no. I
I haven't had lunch yet either, Amber.
okay, I'm sorry.
Oh,
So on the tape,
That-
you tell Johnny Depp that you did mean to hit him.
And it also misrepresents that what actually happened, which is him trying to get into a room I'm trying to keep him out of. And then he runs the door over my toes, trying to get into the room. I tried to push him out of it, which is what the hit is referred to. And Johnny, whenever he was injured or touched at all, was referred to it in these ways of punching or clocked or whatever. And whether you discussed it with him or not, the last thing you do in talking to him afterwards or trying to reconcile with him is to get into what the definition of those words mean to him. I never even addressed it. If he was ever pushed, it was a quote. He called it a cold clock. I mean, it's just very dramatic.
Isn't it true?
wow. That's a different response. That sure is a different
You're
response.
smiling as that audio recording is being played in your deposition, aren't you, Ms. Heard?
Not smiling because of the audio. I'm smiling because of what's happening around me.
You even roll your eyes at one point, don't you?
Yep.
I was sitting opposite a whole table full of lawyers who were snickering, laughing, and rolling their eyes at me while I was talking.
Oh,
Is there something amusing about kicking a door into your husband's head?
No, I was rolling my eyes and commenting on what I was experiencing at that time in recounting the
Is
story.
there something amusing
wonder how the
to
jury
you
will
about
respond.
punching your husband in the jaw?
That is not what I was smiling about. And no, I do not think it's amusing.
Ms. Heard, you testified
Wow.
yesterday that all you want to do is move on. Do you remember that testimony?
Yes, I do.
But that's not true, is it, Ms. Heard?
Oh boy.
It is very true.
What did she
You
do
just
now?
haven't been able to move on with your life, have you? From Mr. Depp.
I'm here, aren't I?
In fact,
That's
on
a fair
October
answer.
11th, 2018, you actually commenced an
Yeah, she has some
arbitration
good
action
answers.
against Mr. Depp for defamation, didn't you?
I don't recall that, no.
Your Honor, may I approach? May we approach?
There's another defamation case? Wait, what?
Is that the E.T. song? I don't know why I have that stuck in my head. Is that how it goes? I don't even know what's after that. I don't know if that's E.T. Okay, anyway, sidebar. Miss Vasquez, now that she said that she doesn't recall, I think I have to show it to her just to refresh her recollection. I'm not going to publish it to the jury. Miss Bredhoft, I'd have to say, Your Honor, in the deposition, she didn't have any recollection of this either. The court, she's entitled to see if it refreshes her recollection. That's it. You just have to show it to her and say, quote, does this refresh your recollection, end quote. Okay, Miss Vasquez, thank you. The court, back to open court.
And Ms. Heard, if you could please read to yourself the first page of Exhibit 219.
All right.
So this is a case that she tried to bring. You were supposed to read it. Are you done reading?
And if you can also read to yourself the second page of Exhibit 219.
I don't know what this is referring to. I'm very curious.
Yes.
And if you can scroll down, Tom. Again, Ms. Heard, just to
Thanks,
look at
Tom.
that page. Does that refresh your recollection, Ms. Heard, that you did, in fact, in October
They have backup jurors.
2018, 2 months before you published the op-ed in this case,
They have
the subject of this
alternates.
case, you initiated an arbitration against Mr. Depp for
Arbitration.
defamation?
It's not my understanding I initiated an arbitration. It's my understanding that our lawyers sent a letter to his lawyers after he called me a liar again, effectively, in an interview.
And that's 2 months before your op-ed that was published in December of 2018, right?
That is correct.
And that's 6 months before Mr. Depp filed this case against you, correct?
That's correct.
So you fired the first shot, not Mr. Depp.
I disagree. We sent a letter.
She's like, nah, bitch, please. I don't know what this means. It's just a freaking letter.
From your lawyers?
Thank you.
Are you done with cross? That's a shot across the bow. Our letter sent a lawyer. That is a shot across the bow.
Ms. Heard, isn't it true that you once
Not a trial.
filled out a customs form falsely so that you could get
I'm just going to go ahead and just... Okay, here's just my thinking out loud here. So, it makes sense to me if I were an attorney, or if I were, in the gallery, or if I were me, or whatever, if I were on the jury, like, it makes sense, like, you're going chronologically, you're kind of following in this family, right? So what we had been doing was we were watching her deposition, right? We were watching her get, it was getting pointed out, like, obviously, she was hitting him, the whole business with the door, and how she was acting at the deposition, she was being rude, but also just, like, very flippant, and then kind of trying to, like, walk back, like, was it a hit versus a slap, whatever the case was. She was just trying to get out, etc. Get out of the bathroom. So it makes sense, A, to stick with the deposition, in my opinion. And B, to stick with the topic of, IPV or domestic violence of some kind, involving her being potentially abusive. That's what makes sense to me. So what I am trying to figure out is why, then, and we'll never know the answer. This is just thinking out loud. Is why, like, to me, this line of questioning right here, Ms. Heard, you testified yesterday that when you left the courthouse after obtaining the domestic violence restraining order, against Mr. Depp, you walked out to see a paparazzi. You can't, like, this line of questioning about the TRO and the paparazzi and the cameras, this makes sense to me because it's confronting her with her own testimony, which is exactly what was happening before, like in the deposition, right? Before we played the deposition video, I wasn't there, before the deposition video was played, she was confronted with audio recording of her. And here she is on the stand, she's confronted with the audio, and then she's confronted with her being confronted with the audio in a deposition. So it's like double confrontation, of your own bullshit. So she's being confronted with how she was confronted in the deposition. And then Camille confronts her about that. And so, and again, on the topic of her being confronted with her own testimony, and also on the topic of her claiming to be a victim of domestic violence, but yet all of the evidence showing that she's the one who is perpetrating the domestic violence against Johnny. And so this line of questioning to me, like, I just thought about this as I was like going through and putting this video together. The thing is that this makes so much more sense to me to have this happen here. Because again, we were just watching, well, I guess I say have it happen here. Have it happen here, honestly, to me, I would have preferred it before even asking the other two, trying to go down two other lines of questioning, right? The letter and then the Australia dogs. So I would have preferred this to happen back to back, right after the last deposition video. Again, that to me, that just makes sense. I think it's easy to follow. And I don't think she needed the Australia dogs, to be honest. I don't even know why I'm talking about this. Not like my opinion matters, but I'm just trying to figure it out in my head because there's not much that feels jarring to me when I'm going through and reading the sidebars and watching the video. It's very easy to follow Camille and timeline wise, right? And know where I am, putting those in. But this is the one part where I'm like confused. I'm like, am I in the right place? Am I on the right page? Because I'm like, wait a second. Because to me, logically, it makes so much sense that the next thing that should happen is the TMZ thing. And so when the letter comes up and then she says, we sent a letter, and then the next question is a completely different topic about the customs form. Anyway, it's just, but this is an anomaly for Camille, and I don't really know, we'll never know what her strategy was and where she was going to go with these. Again, I think maybe it was just to show her documents and get her squirming on the stand. But I don't think she needed it, and I think that this was the right course of action. Anyway, okay. So, I don't even know. Was I reading a sidebar? What was I doing? I don't know. Sidebar, Ms. Brodoft. Your Honor, this is the subject of a motion in limine, Ms. Vasquez, that you denied. Ms. Brodoft, Your Honor said that if they were going to raise it, they had to approach the court. All right, let's take a look. Is it Ms. Vasquez? This is the customs form. She pleaded guilty. She was charged with falsifying a document in Australia. The court, okay. Ms. Vasquez, Your Honor ruled that this was allowed. The court, all right, which one was it? Do you remember? Ms. Brodoft, Your Honor, may I grab the court? Yes, go ahead. Motion in limine, Ms. Vasquez. So I believe it's motion in limine number 2. The court number 2, right? Ms. Vasquez doesn't say that we have to approach. The court, subject to objections at trial, correct. Approach the bench for raising. Ms. Vasquez, so sorry, Your Honor, I didn't see that. The court, okay, all right, so what are we trying to raise here? Ms. Vasquez, that Ms. Heard pleaded guilty to falsifying a document in Australia. The court, all right, so that would be number 2. Ms. Vasquez, correct. Ms. Brodoft, correct, Your Honor, and in that situation, it did not result in a conviction. The court, correct. Ms. Brodoft, it was not a charge of perjury. The court, okay. Ms. Brodoft, and it was not a crime involving moral turpitude, and the court specifically found that she did not intentionally mislead in the document. The court, okay, so what's the basis of bringing it up? Ms. Vasquez, that she pleaded guilty to falsifying a document and essentially committing perjury, which is a crime of moral turpitude. It's highly relevant to her testimony. The court, she wasn't convicted. Ms. Vasquez, she pleaded guilty, though. She was charged and pleaded guilty. She didn't have to be convicted because she pled guilty. Great point, Camille. The court, yeah, for crimes of moral turpitude, it has to be a conviction. Ms. Brodoft, and there was not. The court, but the basis for you getting it in now is just to show a crime of moral turpitude, correct? Ms. Vasquez, correct. The court, it wasn't a conviction, so it doesn't come in for that. Ms. Bredehoft, well, we're up here. Are you planning on any of the other ones so we can cover them before? The court, you'll approach right before you. Ms. Vasquez, well, we've already approached about the topic and Your Honor ruled. The court, that took care of that one. Ms. Bredehoft, so are we doing anything with the immigration? Ms. Vasquez, no. The court, all right. Ms. Vasquez, thank you. Back to open court.
Why don't they talk on the mic when they approach? Because the jury can't hear what they're arguing over. It's not in evidence. Attorneys can say things that could sway the jury. So we don't get to hear. I hate not hearing sidebars. I want to know. I want it to be like sports where we can like hear on the sidelines. Does Elaine keep losing the sidebars? Generally. Margot Robbie
testified yesterday that when you left the courthouse after obtaining the domestic violence restraining order against Mr. Depp, you walked out to, quote, a sea of paparazzi cameras.
They had to move on about the dogs.
That's correct.
They didn't get to ask about the dogs, so they lost that one.
Sea of cameras.
That's correct.
They lost about the customs.
It was quiet when you went into the courthouse that morning.
And the divorce had remained under the radar up to that point.
You testified that no one knew about your divorce, so you thought it was going to stay that way, right?
Bummer.
No, I always figured it would come out. I just was trying to buy time.
You knew the media had been alerted that you were filing for divorce, right, Ms. Heard?
No, I just knew that it was impossible to do that privately, so you could just hope it was a matter of time.
You knew they were going to be there, didn't you?
No, I did not.
I
assume since it's a public building that there is that likelihood, or not likelihood, but possibility.
They don't just camp out there. I worked there. There aren't just paparazzi there every day.
I was shocked.
There aren't just paparazzi hanging out there every day.
Was there at the courthouse with you, wasn't she?
Publicist.
Yes, she was.
So you anticipated that you might need your publicist?
I thought the filing might make, I was told the filing was public, that it would be impossible. There's no way for you to do a private filing. And then the second that I filed for the TRO, it would be public news. I didn't expect all these photographers and cameras to show up at the courthouse in real time.
It doesn't.
If we could please pull up plaintiff's exhibit.
It doesn't just get online that fast, though.
A clip from your divorce deposition, and you have at page, if I can alert you, you have the transcript there, page 74, lines 22.
You said
874? 74.
74.
Line 22 through 75, line 13.
72 line.
74.
We do tanks for the summer.
Through 75, line 13.
How to sue mom. I will. Imagine her doing a mic drop. I don't think she'll do an actual mic drop. It might be a proverbial mic drop. Do you think they had to move on from the Doggygate stuff? They lost whatever objection Elaine brought was sustained by the court about Doggygate. So they might not have had the evidence to back it up. Why are they approaching again?
Sidebar, Ms. Bredehoft, I don't see this in the court. This is a text message sent to the jury judge, Ms. Vasquez. She goes on, and at the very end of her answer, you see that she testifies she alerted TMZ about the divorce. I'm getting so excited. I love this part. Oh my God. It's so exciting. Wow. You see that she testifies she alerted TMZ about the divorce. TMZ was alerted. The very end of her answer. The court, okay. Ms. Bredehoft, I'm sorry, where is it? The court, right there. Ms. Bredehoft, I'm not finding TMZ. Of course you're not, Elaine. Maybe go get another set of glasses. Double glasses. Ms. Vasquez. It's at the very end of her answer. I'm sorry, I don't have my copy here. I don't have it with me, Ms. Bredehoft, to cite. I read the cite. Ms. Bredehoft, I'm not seeing TMZ. The court, it says it there. I picture Judge Abe like pointing. It's right there, Elaine. Quote, some of the indiscernible TMZ, which was alerted, end quote. Ms. Bredehoft, it doesn't say that she alerted them. In fact, she's testified that Laura Wasser alerted them. The court, it is subject to other redirect. Her theory is that she stated it. Ms. Bredehoft, well, I don't think it's impeachment, Your Honor. The court, yes. Ms. Bredehoft, it's just going to be the video deposition again, Ms. Vasquez. Yes, thank you. Yeah, it's just, don't worry, Elaine. It's just the video deposition. No worries, no worries. Yeah, it's going to be great. Back to open court. Ms. Vasquez, if we could please play and display to the jury Plaintiff's Exhibit 1280.
She's lying.
If we could please play and display to the jury Plaintiff's Exhibit 1280.
Whereupon the following epic as fuck video was played.
Ms. Heard, did you send a text message to Jerry Judge on May 24, 2016 telling Jerry Judge, quote, I'm desperately trying to reach Johnny. It's extremely important. Please tell him.
I remember sending the text message that is in front of me right now to Jerry. And I remember sending this because I wanted to tell Johnny or have him told by Jerry or someone who knew him or was close to him. Basically, I didn't want him to find out online that I had or was about to file or I had already filed for divorce. I wanted him to know verbally. So I was trying to reach him through a third party to tell him. When I say reach, I'm specifically saying I would like him to know information coming from me or coming from Jerry from me so that he finds out about the divorce filing or my intention to do so from some other source other than TMZ, which was alerted.
Oh, fuck.
You slipped up there, didn't you, Miss Heard? You let it slip out that TMZ had been alerted to your filing of the domestic violence restraining order, didn't you?
I disagree. That's not what I'm talking about.
TMZ is the same outlet that you released the video of Mr. Depp attacking the kitchen cabinets the day before this deposition was taken, wasn't it?
I didn't do that. I don't know how
owns
to do
the
that.
copyright to that video now, doesn't it?
I have no idea what TMZ
Did they
owns.
pay you for that?
I never got paid for it because I had nothing to do with that.
So TMZ was just lucky in getting the inside scoop to your divorce from Mr. Depp, huh?
I have no idea. That's not my area of expertise. I wouldn't even know how to do that. And also, what does that get me? If I wanted to leak things about Johnny,
Let it go.
I could have done that in a much more successful way, in a bigger way,
Let her go.
for years.
Not
and
when you
years.
were extorting him for $7 million.
I got a fraction of what I was entitled to in the state of California, by the way. What extortion?
Tassa Van Rees, your ex-wife, right?
That's right. She's my ex-partner.
She's the one that you told this jury Mr. Depp was jealous of, right?
Yeah, well, that was 2013 fights around March, yes.
You testified that he tried to burn one of her paintings, right?
That's correct.
You testified he tried to burn one of your favorite paintings that she did, right?
I don't know if it was one of my favorites.
You committed domestic violence against Miss Van Reed during your relationship, didn't you?
No, I did not.
You assaulted her at a Seattle airport in 2009, didn't you?
No, I did not.
What?
And people saw that.
That's not true.
And it was covered in the press. Isn't that true?
It was planted in the press by Johnny's team 2 days after I got the TRO. Not
Can
coincidentally.
you please pull up Plaintiff's Exhibit 1279?
No, she did not.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Miss Bredoff, Your Honor, may we approach the court? That's fine. Sidebar. Miss Bredoff, Your Honor did not permit her to go into that court. We did. We said you could go into the articles themselves. Miss Vasquez, the only article I plan to show is this one. It doesn't have the word in here. Court doesn't have the word. It's not going into evidence. Miss Vasquez, not going into evidence. Miss Bredoff, not going to be shown to the jury. The court, not going to be shown to the jury. Miss Bredoff, okay, thank you. The court, Miss Vasquez, thank you. Back to open court.
I have never seen that TMZ slip. What I will say is that when that cabinet slamming video was played in court, TMZ copyright struck my channel 3 times for that video, claiming ownership of the copyright.
You could please have that article displayed for the witness.
Oh,
This is an article from 2 years ago, correct, Ms. Heard?
I don't know when this
May
was.
of 2020.
That's not when it came out, no. This story started getting planted in after I got a TRO.
There's no question
after I got a
pending.
restraining order against Johnny.
There's no question pending.
The headline says, Amber Heard
Objection,
allegedly
Your Honor.
struck.
Objection, Your Honor. I think Your Honor ruled she can't say that.
If you want to approach again.
That's obviously not what the court ruled. Otherwise, the court would have reminded Camille that she can't say that. At least Elaine found her microphone button.
Sidebar, sidebar. The court, it was just the title. Miss Vasquez, just the title. The court, the title. Can't have the rest. Miss Vasquez, right. Doesn't have the word. The court, okay. Back to open court.
The title reads, Amber Heard allegedly grabbed,
She won.
struck her ex-girlfriend at the airport.
She won.
Doesn't it?
Yes, and that's not true.
Oh, dear.
May we approach?
Okay.
She's opened the door. She's opened the door. The door is fucking open. Ah!
Sidebar. Miss Vasquez, Your Honor, I think she's opened the door to the arrest. I mean, the fact that she's saying that's not true, that she grabbed and assaulted her ex-girlfriend, yet she was arrested for that exact thing, I think at a minimum I should be allowed to show her the arrest record. Again, I'm not going to be admitting it, to see if that refreshes her recollection that, in fact, she did assault and grab her girlfriend. The court. She did say no. Miss Bredoff, no, Your Honor, I'm sorry. What did Your Honor say? The court, indiscernible. Miss Bredoff, right, because she's still going to deny, and that's the whole point. An arrest is not a conviction. The court, I'm not going to allow that. Miss Vasquez, thank you. Miss Bredoff, you are going to? The court, no, I'm not. Miss Bredoff, okay, thanks. I couldn't hear you. The court, I just didn't know if I was, sustaining your objection or overruling her. I wasn't exactly sure which way we were. Miss Bredoff, okay, thank you. Miss Vasquez, thank you.
Oh, she. Well,
So the article,
you're going
the
to make us
title
prove
is
it.
Amber Heard allegedly struck her
Objection, Your Honor.
ex-girlfriend.
She's already.
Overruled. Go.
Thank you. If I may start over.
Yes, start over, Camille. You
Amber
go off,
Heard
girl.
allegedly struck her ex-girlfriend, Tassa Van Ree, at the airport in 2009. Did I read that right?
Yes, this is another example of the smear campaign.
So Mr. Depp is not the only domestic partner you've assaulted, is he, Miss Heard?
I've never assaulted Mr. Depp or anyone else that I've been romantically linked to, ever.
Sure.
No further questions.
No
Your Honor.
further questions.
Cross-examination. I'm sorry, redirect.
That was
Ms. Heard,
masterful.
Did Ms. Van Ray come out after that article came in and make a public statement
Hearsay.
it was false?
Of course. I did.
Objection, Your Honor.
Hearsay.
Hearsay.
Move to strike.
Yeah, I should at least be.
Overruled.
No.
Thank you.
Of course she did.
Okay. Now,
Isn't there a police report?
let's talk about the TMZ alerted. Explain to the jury what you meant by the TMZ was alerted.
Elaine's coming in hot.
So when you make these kind of filings, meaning divorce, marriage, things like that.
Oh,
they
explain how
are
the legal
public
system
record.
works to us.
And so when I filed for divorce, I asked my team to file in the most discreet way, literally
discreet
to
way.
put it under a stack of papers and file it at the end of day. So kind of had more of a shot of being missed by the paparazzi and by TMZ and those sorts of
And by Emily D.
publicity
Baker,
outlets.
legal
I
commentators.
believe that we had been remarkably lucky following the divorce, that it wasn't picked up and that it gave me a precious few days of peace at that really fragile time. When I found out that they were going to run the story or that they had the information, I was trying to get a hold of Johnny to clarify that I did not do this in a punitive way. I didn't want him to be mad at me. I didn't want him to find out in that sort of context online.
And who had connections to TMZ?
Objection calls for speculation.
It does.
Do you know?
I do know. Johnny
Your
and I
Honor,
spoke about
Your
it.
Honor, calls for
Sustain
speculation.
the objection.
It
Did
does.
Mr. Depp tell you about who
No,
had connections
leading,
with Mr.
no,
with TMZ?
object.
Yes, we
Object.
talked about it. His lawyer, Laura Wasser.
That should have been
Now, I'm gonna
objected
start
to.
at the very beginning here. You were asked by Ms. Vasquez about
Vasquez,
why Mr. Depp
not Vasquez.
won't or can't look you in the eye. And she read out, or she played a tape in which Mr. Depp said, "You will not see my eyes again." You recall that?
She
And that was
did
during the
not.
mediation process in July, correct?
That was
Objection leading.
the first one.
Sustained
Okay.
is the leading.
When was this?
That was in July of 2016. That was the first mediation
she
attempt.
just
We met after
mocked-
that, and Johnny very much looked me in the eye.
Please tell the jury about the next meeting after he said, "You will not see my eyes again."
We met in the lawyer's office. They gave us a moment. Johnny kissed me again, held me. I cried, he cried, and then we had a short exchange, and he put a note in my pocket that said, "I'll love you dead or alive, my Slim," with his new phone number on it.
I'd like to bring up, Michelle, if you can, Defendant's Exhibit 1581L.
She mocked him. She mocked him. Elaine, I don't think that's good. You'll never see my eyes again. Elaine,
Do you recognize this?
I did
Objection,
not.
Your Honor.
I did not have any of this on my.
Yes, ma'am.
Sidebar. Ms. Vasquez, so we are now on redirect to court, right? Ms. Vasquez, this is something that was never produced, and if it was produced part of a late production and past discovery cutoff. Ms. Bredoff. So it was produced by Mr. Depp. It was used in the UK trial. Mr. Depp produced it as a black and white in this case. This came out in color, it's true, through Mr. Young's view, but it's not responsive to any document request that they've asked for. The court, I'm going to sustain the objection. Ms. Vasquez, thank you, Your Honor. Back to open court.
And then you have Elaine getting on redirect and mocking the plaintiff. This is going to be a mess. This is going to be an absolute mess. I'm here for all of the beautiful disaster that's about to happen, but this is going to be a mess. I think we're at DEFCON Red with the mocking. What do you think?
What the coaster was that he slipped into your pocket, what it said.
Coaster?
Said, I love you forever, my Slim, dead or alive.
And what, if anything, did it have in addition?
His new phone number.
And
you have a picture of that?
To be, just so we're clear, on how many occasions in that second mediation did Mr. Depp look you in the eye?
Many.
Okay. And when Ms. Vasquez asked you if you knew why Mr. Depp couldn't or wouldn't look you in the eye here or in the UK, you said, yes, you know. Why? Please tell the jury why.
Because he's guilty.
What's with the sappy face?
He knows he's lying. Otherwise, why can't he look at me?
It's a whole different tone.
I survived. I survived that man, and I'm here, and I'm able to look at him.
Which says a lot. Why are they hammering on this?
A bruise.
She wants this to come in.
From March 15, 2013. Do you recall how long before the picture you had sustained that bruise?
I do.
How long?
I think Camille is the queen of the lawyers. Camille rocked today.
You were asked a number of times by Ms. Vasquez if you took pictures from your incidents earlier in the relationship.
Yes.
Why didn't you?
It was something I started doing only kind of incidentally. You know, I was commenting to my best friend. I was looking for support from my mom, things like that. There was, I'm ashamed to say, never a thought that this would happen. I mean, not until
Why would you be ashamed of that?
And my best friend taking pictures of me.
Why would you be ashamed of not thinking of the worst?
That wasn't even a thing.
It has been suggested by Ms.
Vasquez
to you in your questions that you didn't tell anyone about the abuse until the TRO. Is that true?
Objection, Your Honor, leading.
All right. What if any? All right.
What if any?
Who did you tell about the abuse during the time it was happening?
Calls for
Objection,
hearsay.
Your Honor, leading.
That's not offered to
Calls for
and
hearsay. Hey, Elaine.
Your Honor, it's
Elaine.
It's leading. It's
Elaine.
Next question.
Okay.
Elaine.
What, if anything, did you tell to anyone about the abuse?
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
I'll sustain.
Get it, Camille.
Your Honor, may I approach?
That's fine.
May I approach? I'm going to tell you how it's not hearsay, and the judge is still going to say that it's hearsay.
Sidebar, the court. You don't have forever to do that. I mean, there has to be a timeline you're trying to talk about. Ms. Bredoff. Actually, Your Honor, there's two different ways I think it comes in on prior consistent statement, Your Honor. I submitted this brief earlier to Your Honor, court. I've seen it, Ms. Bredoff. So there are two parts to this one. Oh dear. And one part of this is just the prior consistent statements on specifics, and I will have some on that. But the second is the offer to rebuff allegations of recent fabrication before litigation arose, and that's Virginia Supreme Court Rule 2801 D2B. And the Virginia Supreme Court has further defined this principle, and I'm citing Faison here, quote, where a witness has been assailed on the ground that the story is a recent fabrication or that they have had some motive to testifying falsely, proof that they gave a similar account of the transaction when the motive did not exist before the effect of such an account could be foreseen or motives of interest would have induced a different statement is admissible. end quote. And that's face on, and they're also citing Gramsci Duncombe phonetic spelling. In this instance, they're clearly suggesting that she's made this up for the TRO and that it was never there before. She didn't tell anybody. It didn't exist. And I think that brings in Ms. Vasquez. That's not what we're saying. Ms. Bredoff, all of the statements, Your Honor. The court also sustained the objection. Ms. Bredoff, Your Honor, just so I can make a complete record on that, I'm removing the admission of the exhibit that I tried to put in last Wednesday and Thursday that were for hearsay because they're prior consistent statements. I just want to put my record on, Your Honor. The court, okay, that's fine, but it's not prior consistent statements, so I'll sustain the objection. Ms. Vasquez, thank you, Your Honor. Back to open court.
The shift between the end of cross and redirect is noticeable in Amber Heard's demeanor, very much noticeable.
How many people have you shared the fact of abuse prior to 2015?
Objection outside the scope of cross. Outside the scope.
Hearsay.
Outside the scope.
Overruled.
Outside the scope of cross.
Roughly about 10.
Are they all coming into court?
Can you name them?
Objection, Your Honor.
Relevance.
Hearsay.
Relevance.
I think she can. It's not offered. It's just showed that she had.
Stop.
She informed people.
Arguing.
Objection, Your Honor. Can we approach
This is preposterous, Elaine.
Sidebar. Ms. Vasquez, Your Honor, she's making arguments in front of the jury. The court, I understand, Ms. Vasquez, and it's just inappropriate. I mean, you said at the outset of the trial, speaking objections are not to be permitted. Just one-word objections, legal objections. The court, okay, so Ms. Bredoff, so Your Honor, I think it's been suggested that she made these up. I think she should at least be the court right. She said 10 people, so why do we need the names of the people? Ms. Bredoff, okay. The court, I'll sustain the objection. Ms. Vasquez, thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Bredoff, okay. Back to open court.
You don't do speaking objections to prove the thing because now Elaine is directly telling the jury, no, it's just to prove that she's doing this and this and that. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, that's completely inappropriate. And you can see Vasquez trying to push the button on her mic going, this is going, there weren't this many objections during cross because Elaine couldn't object to anything because Camille stayed within the appropriate rules of evidence. Is Camille done? Yeah, Camille's completely fed the fuck up at this point, I think. So this is just preposterous.
You were asked.
And again, moved on.
Whether you had consulted a medical doctor about any problems with your nose,
She
correct?
is magical.
That's correct. And you indicated that you in fact had after the divorce,
Objection
correct?
leading.
It's leading as fuck.
Did you or did you not consult an ENT after
How many
the divorce?
objections?
Objection leading.
Did you produce medical records to the defendants relating to this?
Objection leading.
All right,
Calls.
I'll sustain the objection.
Thank you.
It's leading. Next question.
Your Honor, if we
Can you
could-
please
the
admonish
witness could be
counsel?
instructed not to answer until I've
All right.
lodged my objection.
Wait for the objection, please.
Could we bring up defendant's exhibit 1077?
Your Honor, could you please admonish counsel to ask better questions? Could you just remind her that this is a
Do
trial?
you recognize this document?
My screen is black.
Oh, sorry.
That's fair.
Yes, I do.
And could you tell us what it is?
I forgot to take notes. I don't know what's
What
happening.
my ENT, the ears, nose, and throat doctor, told me was.
Objection, Your Honor,
calls for
hearsay.
hearsay.
All right,
Stop
I'll-
talking.
When there's objection, please stop talking. Thank you. All right, I'll sustain the objection as to hearsay.
Okay.
Stop trying to get into more.
I'm
I don't like this style. And Elaine's getting into the style she gets into in cross, where she's trying to just squeak stuff in.
What, if any, you were asked if you had, it was suggested that you had not produced this in discovery. Is that true?
Objection, Your Honor, leading.
Your Honor, she
and-
absolutely did that.
It's leading. It is leading question. though.
Stop it, Elaine.
Just leading.
What, if anything, did you do to produce medical records to the defendant, to the plaintiff in this case?
I turned over all of my devices, and they had
No, you didn't.
Johnny's team had a third party or someone they selected as a third party go and pull all relevant documents from those devices, which I handed over.
Do you know how many were handed over?
Hundreds of thousands, I believe. Maybe.
Objection, Your Honor, lack of foundation.
All right, I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
She didn't
And
do any
do
of
you,
that.
what, if anything, did you produce to the plaintiff in connection with your consultation with an
I'm surprised they're
ENT
getting into
specialist
this.
relating to your
I'm surprised they're
nose.
trying to get into
Objection,
this.
leading,
Sustained.
This is a mess.
foundation, hearsay.
What if anything? It's not the cure-all. It's sustained.
Yes, Your Honor, yes! Finally! Say what we've all been thinking, Judge A. Get it. What, if anything, is not the cure-all?
When did you
Boss.
see an ENT specialist?
2017.
Judge A is over it.
2016 or 17.
And as a result of that consultation, what did you learn about your nose?
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
I'm not asking her to tell what they said.
Yeah, I'll sustain the objection.
You're still trying to do it, Elaine. You're not going to make fetch happen on this one, babe. Stop. Girl, just stop. Just stop. Take a breath. Move on.
What, if any, production did you make to the
This is a mess.
of
And the
your
jury's gonna
medical
see it's a
records
mess.
with the ENT?
Objection, Your Honor, lack of foundation.
This is a mess. Move on.
If you want to lay a foundation.
Do you see
Do
Roddenborn?
you know
Not Roddenborn,
whether
sorry, Chew.
the records, medical records
No.
from your EMT were produced in discovery? in this
Objection,
case?
Your Honor, lack of foundation calls for speculation.
I'm asking.
Overruled if she knows.
I'm just trying to get this evidence in.
And do you recall?
This does not help them the way they think it does.
I'm trying.
We got that. We got that.
What, if anything,
Nope.
did the medical records reflect about your nose?
Calls
Objection,
for
Your Honor,
hearsay,
hearsay.
medical
Sustain the
conclusion. Calls for expert testimony. Move the
Do you
fuck
have
on.
injuries to your nose?
Yes.
Please describe those to the jury.
Now?
I have
I'm going to
a bunch of
object.
scars.
Objection.
I'm going to object to the extent it calls for hearsay
And it calls for a medical
and lack of
conclusion.
foundation
Overruled.
and improper expert opinion.
Yep.
Well,
That's appropriate.
Yes, she can certainly testify too.
No, she can't.
we'll see where it goes. Go ahead.
Okay.
No, she
Go
can't.
ahead.
You have to bring in doctors to
I
prove
have
bones are
a
broken.
significant amount of scar tissue in my nose.
Objection, Your Honor.
I'll sustain the objection.
That's and strike it.
What, if any, difficulty do you have breathing?
Move on.
Objection, leading.
What, if anything? And that does cure him.
It doesn't-
No,
but
it doesn't.
I'll overrule the objection.
Thank you. Do you remember the question?
I have a significant amount of trouble breathing at night, and I've been putting off having surgery for it.
Which could be caused from a number of things. Are we done? Are we moving on from this? This was abysmal, and this did not help.
Now, you were asked
You
about
might be
December
embarrassed.
15, 2015.
DUI guy has died of secondhand
Ms. Vasquez
embarrassment.
suggested that you did not report the abuse or the injuries to Aaron Falati. Do you recall that
Objection, Your
question?
Honor, leading.
Your Honor, I'm entitled to go into what Ms. Vasquez asked.
The objection is leading. I'll sustain.
But
the
you're
objection.
not entitled to lead, Elaine. You need to ask
Did you report?
open-ended questions. You're still
What, if
leading.
anything, did you report to Aaron Falati about the abuse you sustained
I'm
on
angry.
12/15/2015?
Objection, leading and hearsay.
Approach.
The judge is going to rip into Elaine because this is wasting court time. It is unprofessional. And the judge, there is no way this judge isn't going to look at Elaine and be like, what the fuck are you doing?
Ms. Vasquez, objection, leading and hearsay. The court approach. Get over here now.
You cannot lead. This is not cross. You need to ask the questions.
Sidebar, the court. You can't just, this is this part. Okay, the court. You can't just put, quote, what if any, end quote, and Ms. Bredoff, I can't hear you. The court. You can't put what if any in front of a whole statement and say you're directing her directly to that. There are ways to ask the question. You can't just ask it in those ways, Ms. Bredoff. So if I'm going to, Your Honor, I would like to do a preview. The court. Sure. Ms. Bredoff. There is notes from Aaron Falati's records that were excluded from 12/16. The court. Okay. Ms. Bredoff. Ms. Vasquez read from 12/17. The court. Okay. Ms. Bredoff. I'm going to now bring in 12/16 prior consistent statement because she was impeached with 12/17 from the hotel about the inquiries to Aaron Falati. In fact, Aaron Falati documented the day before that, quote, client states JD was inebriated. Client states disagreement escalated and states husband, indiscernible, abuse, indiscernible, to head. Client denies loss of consciousness, indiscernible, headache, and closed eye. I would encourage client to notify Dr. Kipper and then go to emergency room. Client declines, states friend Rocky was here and that husband will not be able to enter the home, end quote. This is a direct response to, this is a prior consistent statement, Your Honor. Ms. Vasquez asked her about 1217, which is in evidence, the court, right? Ms. Bredhoft, and suggested that she didn't tell her about it. Then she went and got that Dr. Kipper wrote and suggested that she didn't tell him about the incident, so she's suggesting she falsified the incident. This is a prior consistent statement to Nurse Filati, so I am going to be, Ms. Vasquez, Your Honor, it's hearsay. It's hearsay. The court, well, she's saying she's not using it for, she says exception to hearsay. It's a prior consistent statement. Ms. Bredhoft, correct, Ms. Vasquez, but it's still double hearsay, Your Honor, because it's not Ms. Heard's statement. It's Ms. Heard's statement allegedly to a nurse, and it's recorded on a document. That's double hearsay. That's still double hearsay. The nurse isn't testifying to that. Ms. Bredhoft, that's the whole point of having an exception to hearsay. Ms. Vasquez, no, you still can't get over the court. I understand. I see what you're saying, Ms. Vasquez, and you need an exception, Ms. Bredhoft, and there's a medical records exception. Ms. Vasquez, no, there isn't. The court, who is CT? Ms. Bredhoft, client. The court, client. Okay, Ms. Vasquez, by the way, my question wasn't, quote, what injuries did you tell Erin Filati about, end quote, which would have elicited that testimony, perhaps, but you still have to get over the 2 levels of hearsay, and she doesn't have an exception for the 2 levels of hearsay. Ms. Bredhoft, I don't agree. A prior inconsistent statement is an exception to the hearsay rule, and so is the medical record. The court, but medical record, you still have to get over the hearsay in the medical records. Ms. Vasquez, you have to get over the hearsay. Ms. Bredhoft, it's not hearsay. The court, anyways, where we're at. Ms. Vasquez, correct. She's trying to offer it. Ms. Bredhoft, it's specifically intended to impeach her and suggest that she did not tell Erin Filati about the injury, and she brought up the 1217 note, which is in evidence. Ms. Vasquez, I did not. Court, all right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to allow this into evidence because it's double hearsay, but because it's a prior consistent statement, if you want to ask her, quote, did you tell on 1216, did you tell the nurse about your injuries, end quote, I'm going to allow that because that would be a prior consistent statement, but I'm not going to allow the notes in, okay? Does that make sense? Ms. Bredhoft, it's just, I know the jury doesn't get to see that, and they see the 1217 and they're misled, the court. But you have a hearsay issue inside of that. I'm allowing you to ask the question for prior consistent statement because I think it's appropriate, okay? Ms. Vasquez, just what? And not reading in, court, and not reading in the note, just an open-ended question. What did you ask her, Ms. Bredhoft? And then I also have text message exchanges between Erin Filati and Amber Heard on 1216 about this. This is Defendant's Exhibit 535, Your Honor, and for the record, what I want to move in is Plaintiff's 46A to add in the 1216-15, the court. Which part are you saying is a prior consistent statement here? Ms. Bredhoft, she's telling her about this headache, and it goes through, and then she finds her, I think, the 3rd page, Your Honor, is an exception. The court, show me the prior consistent statement. Ms. Vasquez, Your Honor, I'm going to just object that none of this should be admitted. The court, well, the prior consistent statement, Ms. Vasquez, the court, go ahead. Ms. Vasquez, prior consistent statements cannot be admitted into evidence because they're used to rehabilitate the witness. The court, right? Ms. Vasquez, but it cannot be admitted into evidence. The court, right? So you can ask her the question, I'm not going to allow the documents, Ms. Vasquez. They have to be open-ended and they can't be quoting. It's hearsay. The court, you can't quote the text. You can't quote the notes. Just say, you know, quote, on 1216, did you report to the nurse any injuries, end quote. Does that sound okay? Ms. Vasquez, that's fine, Your Honor. And I, just for the record, Your Honor, Ms. Bredhoft, and did you text with the nurse? The court, and did you text with her about the injuries? But that's it, okay? Ms. Bredhoft, all right. Ms. Vasquez, and just for the record, Your Honor, the court, okay. Ms. Vasquez, I didn't impeach her on this incident. I asked her if she had any injuries. The court, we're not going impeachment, just prior consistent statement. That's fine. Ms. Vasquez, okay, thank you. Back to open court.
I am just appalled watching this. Your Honor, I want to get this evidence in. Can you tell me how to do it? No, I can't, Elaine. But what I can tell you is that what, if any, is not a cure, that this is leading, and you cannot ask leading questions. Create a direct, create a redirect, and move on. Is it possible to build up scar tissue from cocaine overuse through a tampon applicator? Possibly.
Did you tell Nurse Filati on 12/16/2015
Umbridge is trying to regain
about the injuries
her
you
case, and she can't.
sustained from the 12/15/2015 attack?
I did. I believe I sent her pictures too.
Okay. And did you text with Nurse Filati on 12/16/2015 about the injuries that you had suffered as a result of Mr. Depp's attack on you on 12/15?
Yes, she guided me through a concussion check.
You don't do a concussion check over the phone, by the way. I mean, I know my EMT
And
training
did
was a
you
long time ago,
tell
but for real,
Connell
for real.
Cowan about the injuries you sustained.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
Yep.
It's prior consistent statements.
It doesn't
I'm going to sustain the
matter.
objection at this point. Next question.
Do you recall Dr. Laurel Anderson testifying that she saw two
She's not
black
gonna get
eyes?
into it.
Objection, Your Honor.
12-17?
Leading.
You're not going to get into a lot of these
Sustain
prior
is leading.
consistent statements, Elaine.
What, if anything, do you recall from Laurel Anderson's testimony in this case about what she
Objection, that
observed
calls for improper
on
evidence.
12/17/2015?
And it's leading.
Objection, Your Honor. This is outside the scope of cross-examination.
Well outside the
Prior
scope.
consistent statements.
You're not allowed to just get into any prior
Observations
consistent.
for the
I'm gonna-
12/17, the same day.
Sustain the objection. Next question.
May I approach?
Okay.
No. Why are we approaching? The judge has ruled, Elaine.
Sidebar, Miss Vasquez. They've been the court. Prior consistent statements can't be testimony. That's an evidence. That's not how it works, Miss Bredhoff. They brought in Dr. Kipper notes from 12/17 alleging that she didn't say anything about it. And 12/17, she's appearing in front of Laurel Anderson. The court, again, prior consistent statements can be permitted. You're asking about testimony that's not her consistent statement, Miss Bredhoff. Miss Vasquez got to talk about it. The court, that's not prior consistent statements, though. I'm going to sustain the objection. You can move on. Back to open court.
This has been.
When in
Rachel,
December
good to
did
see
you see Dr. Laurel Anderson?
Objection, lack of foundation.
Overruled. I saw her 2 days after the attack.
So on what day did you see her then?
That would have been the 17th of December, 2016. And I told her what happened.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
No, sustain the objection.
And when did you see Dr. Connell Cowan?
I saw him the next day, December 16th is my best recollection.
I wonder if they're going to get back into the.
Let's jump to East Asia for a
Why
moment.
are we jumping to East Asia?
We
for
saw a
moment?
number of pictures from the backless dress.
Oh. Okay.
What,
Is there a
if
question?
any motivation would you have
Leading.
to claim that Mr. Depp
Leading.
was kneeling on your back,
Leading.
knowing you had a backless dress?
Leading.
Objection, Your Honor.
And assumes facts, not
Leading.
evidence.
Calls for speculation.
Assumes facts, not
Leading. I'll
evidence.
sustain the objection.
Calls for speculation. Sorry, I'm going to stop talking over the objections.
Why did you say that Mr. Depp was kneeling on your back in East Asia?
In the closet of the hotel room in Tokyo, I said that because it happened to me. And it would have been much more convenient if I was making it up to not include that detail, knowing I had a backless dress and I walked a press line and got photographed.
And Depp's side is saying it never happened.
Now, we've heard
Elaine is unpleasant.
testimony
That's why I call her
about
Umbridge.
Mr. Depp making a total of $65 million in 2015 and 2016 from his experts.
Objection, Your Honor.
Why did
Leading.
I haven't asked the question.
Hearsay.
Why did you not ask for $32.5 million from Mr. Depp?
Objection
Your Honor.
assumes facts, not evidence.
Leading.
And leading.
I said, why did you not ask?
Relevant.
I'll sustain the
Explanation.
objection. Sustain the objection to leading. Next question.
Elaine.
Why can I just ask, why did you not ask for $32.5 million from Mr.
No,
Depp?
that's leading.
Because I don't
Assumes
Often
facts, not
answered.
evidence.
Relevance.
Assumes facts, not
Overruled.
evidence.
Because I didn't want it. I realized that that's what I was entitled to, but I didn't want it.
You were entitled to $32 million. Were you really?
That's simple.
That assumes facts, not evidence. Calls for legal conclusion. Calls for expert testimony.
The tape recording that was played that has you laughing quite a bit. Can you tell the jury what the context of that particular tape recording was?
That's
I don't really
question.
recall a whole lot about what was going on. I know
Were
we
you
had
high?
been fighting kind of ad nauseum and in this
Why don't you remember?
sort of loop, if you will. And I'm doing my best to not show my pain. That's what I was trying to do. Was trying to be tough.
I was
Not
trying to
show
be
what kind
tough.
of pain I was in.
I was trying to be
Now,
tough by laughing.
Ms. Vasquez asked you about how you got your role in Aquaman. Could you please describe to the jury how you got your role in Aquaman?
I auditioned, not Johnny. I auditioned.
Nobody thought Johnny literally auditioned for you.
And I went to where we were filming the first movie, Justice League. I went, I think, 5.5 months early before filming commenced, when I heard that they wanted to fire me. And so I put myself in the job.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
Sustained.
Keep it away.
I worked really hard. I worked really hard on that.
Nobody thought Johnny
had
Depp
to prove myself.
literally auditioned
and
for you.
I did that for, even though I was only filming for 6 days, I was there for 6 months. Just worked my butt off. That's why.
What, if any, role did Mr. Depp play in your getting Aquaman?
Calls for
He
speculation.
tried to have me fired from it.
Objection, Your Honor. Speculation.
All right, I'll sustain his speculation.
How do you know that he tried to have you fired?
Objection, Your Honor. Calls for speculation and hearsay and lack of foundation.
I'm trying to lay a foundation.
Well, you're not doing it well. Then lay the foundation.
I saw the emails. I saw the texts.
I'll sustain the objection.
So that's hearsay.
Next question.
You were asked about Isaac Baruch and why he and that he saw no marks. What is your recollection of your interaction with Isaac Baruch during the week of May 22nd?
I saw Isaac when I was coming or going, meaning I was leaving or arriving to the building. I saw him at a distance. We did not have a in-depth conversation, nor would we. And I told him actually right after it happened what his friend had done.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's offered to prove the truth.
I think it's exactly offered to prove the truth.
Sustain the objection. Next question.
Okay. Stay away from what was said. Can you just tell us what interaction you had with him?
I will at the break.
And his opportunity to observe you with absolutely no makeup.
Objection, Your Honor. Leading.
Sustain the objection. It's leading.
Poor Amber's. I feel bad for
Amber. Your
Amber.
interaction with Isaac Baruch during the week of
I feel bad for
22nd.
Amber.
Well, not only did I,
because her
have
lawyer's
makeup
not
on,
artfully
but
doing
I did
this.
attempt to kind of let him know what happened.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
You were asked some questions about Officer Melissa Science's testimony. What, if anything, do you recall relating to Officer Melissa Science's testimony relating to your injuries?
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
Your Honor said I could redirect after the cross-examination.
You can redirect, but you can't fucking lead. That is completely inappropriate, Elaine.
Sidebar. The court. You can redirect, but not hearsay. I mean, Ms. Vasquez, hearsay and leading. Ms. Bredoff, Your Honor, it's patently not fair for them to cross-examine and then Your Honor say, quote, that's for redirect, end quote. And I said, she's answering these questions and she's answering what Melissa Saines, she's testifying to what, this is Ms. Vasquez is testifying to what these people testifying to and asking them questions, and I object to that because I think that's not the proper way to do it. Your Honor says, quote, that's for redirect, end quote. Now I'm trying to redirect the court. You still can't redirect with hearsay, Ms. Vasquez, or leading the court, or leading. I'm not sure from that question exactly. I mean, are you trying to get what her testimony was when she testified? Because that's what she was talking about, was the testimony, the in-court statement that she made for a deposition that was played as a witness. Is that what you're trying to get to, Ms. Bredoff? Yes. The court, that's not what you asked, Ms. Bredoff. Okay, all right, but it's not hearsay if it's an in-court statement, so I can ask that because the court, you're talking about her testimony if she knows what her testimony was, Ms. Vasquez, but you still can't lead the witness. The court, but you still can't lead. Ms. Bredoff, okay, thank you. The court, thank you. Back to open court.
Your Honor said I could redirect. You can redirect. It's redirect. Direct means you ask open-ended questions, not leading questions. Elaine, you can't lead. Your Honor said I could redirect. Who the fuck do you think you are in this courtroom right now? You cannot. You cannot. You have to ask appropriate questions. You can't lead. Leading is questions that assume the answer in the question and yes, no questions. She needs to ask better questions and she is failing to do so. The judge might cut off her time. This is so bad. And you know what? It's not going to undo anything from the cross because it's so inartfully done. And I'm actually very frustrated. Oh yeah, I'm probably redder than any of the pictures of Amber Heard. Yep, I am because I get really red when I'm mad. This is, see, the thing that words. I am frustrated for Amber Heard in this moment because no matter what you think of her and think of her performance on the stand, she is entitled to have quality legal representation. And if she paid Ben Shu's laughing at something that's going on. They're seeing what happened at the bench. She is entitled to an attorney that is not an embarrassment.
What, if anything, do you recall of Officer Sines' testimony in this case relating to your injuries and the property destruction?
I recall her saying that she didn't feel that the state I was in was enough of an injury to her, or wasn't injury seeming to her.
Okay.
This feels like a desperate redirect.
She claims she did not see any property damage, but
she claims
I walked with her over broken glass. So I don't know why she's saying that.
Walked with her over broken glass.
What, if any, interactions did you have with Alejandro Romero during the week of May 22?
I think she's not used to doing trials.
I spoke to him briefly.
Objection, Your Honor, to the extent it calls for hearsay.
It does. I think she's
overruled at this point.
I think she's not used to doing trials.
I spoke to him briefly in passing as I was entering, and maybe when I was exiting the building, but always when I was on my way out or in from being outside, meaning makeup. I had makeup on always, as I do.
Why did James Franco visit you on the evening of 5/22/2016?
Why we'd like
Objection calls for speculation.
Do you know?
Yes.
Did you ask him to?
Because he was my friend and he lived next door, quite literally next door. And I had frankly exhausted my support network with my usual friends and was happy to welcome as much friendship at that time as I could possibly get.
Now, the video showed him laying his head on your shoulder.
Her friends were exhausted with her, is what I heard from that.
Can you describe for the jury what the interaction was?
Don't try to fix this. I would have let it go and moved on.
He, after seeing my face, put his
Objection,
head on my
calls
shoulder.
for speculation.
She doesn't call for speculation.
Yes, it does.
He sees her.
He touched the side of my face too.
Okay. Again, Your Honor, if we can instruct the witness.
If you could wait till after the objection, please. All right, next question.
What did Mr. Franco do on the elevator before laying his head on your shoulder?
This isn't going to help you.
The side of my face and responded to what he saw.
How do you know he responded to what he saw? That's also speculative.
We talked about the
why someone else did something is pure speculation.
Newspaper headlines, and there was one in particular referring to sexual violence.
I wouldn't touch this with a fucking 10-foot pole.
To you relating to that article?
Objection, Your Honor.
Leading.
Lack of foundation calls for speculation.
What did he do to her?
Unintelligible. I don't understand the question.
Overruled. We'll see where it goes.
He was carrying the paper that had that headline on it that he leaked and threw it at me at the UK trial. We were unfortunately sat kind of actually literally next to one another with COVID spacing in between us. And he threw the paper down at me as he sat down with that on the cover.
And where was that?
In the UK, at the UK trial.
Objection, Your Honor. This is beyond the scope.
That's not beyond the scope.
Overruled.
It's not beyond the scope.
Why did you tweet about the makeup and Mr. Waldman?
Because he was calling me a liar and a hoaxer and that this was an elaborate hoax just to get Johnny.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
Unintelligible is a proper... Unintelligible is a proper... She sustained the objections, Elaine.
Next question.
Yeah, okay.
Elaine was like, what?
I don't have any more questions, Your Honor.
All right.
Great.
Ma'am, you can have a seat next to your attorney.
Please sit down. And with that, we have a few hours of court left and we are done with Amber Heard as a witness. Wow. I think she gave up and went home. She's like, yep, I'm done.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and take our afternoon recess then for 15 minutes. Do not discuss the case with anybody and don't do any outside research, okay?
Oh, let's take a break. Oh, let's. Please, let's.